It's G2! Hold on. We're going to do this. May I?
Of course.
Now I feel cool like you guys. You are on an absolute tear right now. I think it's 13 map wins, 13 series wins on the bounce. Momentum is well and truly on your side, and you are going to need it against one of the best teams going right now.
Yeah, quote unquote, the best teams, but we beat them on the SI final. I'm sure we are way more ready for them than on this match, so feeling confident.
Yeah, and that's quite a sweet rematch to have. You know, it's almost like the grand final before the grand final. You personally, you're on fire right now. How much do you think you can get in the heads of these Brazilians? I know that you know them very well. I could see you behind the scenes, exchanging a bit of back and forth. Is there anything you want to say to them before we get into this?
I mean, I live in their heads. Even Herd is trying to be me. So yeah, we're gonna destroy them.
Now, you know what a major trophy feels like. You know what the hammer feels like. On, you know, your resume, what would it mean to add this trophy here to your collection?
You'll be fine, but normal as usual.
Normal as usual, just another day in the office. All right, Alamo, you go and take your seat with the rest of G2. Definitely some serious fan support here. It is now time to bring out their opponents. They are looking to make history here in Siege, and they think that tomorrow night, the first ever back-to-back champions of majors here in Siege will be W7m! Esports, you've said many times that you want G2. Now you've got him.
Yeah, we got them, and then today we are going to kill them. Yeah.
You're going to kill them. What does Atlanta think about that? W7m going to kill G2? You've got your supporters here as well, Philippox. Does it concern you at all that, you know, of course there are no NA teams left here standing, and now G2 are going to have a lot of vocal support going into this semi-final?
Yeah, yesterday the crowd was against us too. We are kind of used to that in every tournament we played, so that's not a big deal.
You were not part of the roster when they took down W7m in Montreal at SI in the grand finals, but I imagine that you are going to want to help get some revenge there for your teammates, right?
Yeah, like I said yesterday, I want to play G2 because I never played them, and I want to get revenge for my friends, yeah.
Well, they are sitting right there. None of them have got their headphones on right now. That means they can hear you. What do you want to say to G2?
I think we're going to have a great game, but you guys know you are going to lose.
All right, there you go. Go get into position for Leapox. What a semi-final this is to kick things off. And who better to talk you through it than EU's finest? You are about to lose yourself in their commentary. Des, Ace, take it away, boys. I love you.
Thank you very much, Ian Chambers. Tim, that rematch of the 6th Invitational Grand Final, we've been dying to see it, and they said it themselves, it's a Grand Final before a Grand Final. Now, one thing I do want to mention for all of those you here in the audience and also at home, look, a lot of heartbreak in this arena yesterday.
There was.
We invite you, Get on board the G2 hype train. Punch your tickets, because they can do this today. We all believe they can, but it's not going to be easy against W7m.
Even before NA went out yesterday, there was a lot of support in this room for G2, and I've absolutely no doubt that that's going to show up. But as we've seen, the LATAM teams really don't mind being on the other side of the table either. You know, Lost showing us that yesterday. They were thriving on that sort of negative energy, really.
Oh, they were feeding on it. Vita King especially, man.
Yeah.
Oh, he absolutely loved it. And Philippe said it there. We're used to going to event after event after event where we're the bad guys, we're the villains, we're the ones that everyone wants to see lose, and they don't care, Tim. They're still out here bringing the energy, as we saw yesterday. Admittedly, GK gave them a bit of a run for their money, but this is a whole different kettle of fish coming up against G2. They've been in this situation before. You look back at their record. They've played each other 4 times. G2 won the one that mattered the most. They won that best of 5, but the last best of 3 they played each other against back at SI, W7m were the winners.
This is it. You've got to look at sort of the magnitude of the games. W7m seem to win volume. G2 seem to win when it really matters in that grand final. So there's arguments to be made both ways. But, you know, we can look into tons and tons of stats there. If you look at our stats individually, we've covered 4 grand finals. 7 out, I know this isn't one of them, but 7 out of 8 of those have involved LATAM teams. So we seem to be a bit of a good luck charm for the LATAM teams. So, you know, who knows which stat is going to ring true today. But
it's kind of like the monkey's paw, right? Yeah. You always get banging games, you get long ones like the Berlin final, but it does always have LATAM teams making it towards that ending point. And so today, again, it's the chance here for G2 to cause a bit of, I wouldn't say an upset, because for many they are the favourites to now go on and win this. Many would say the same about FaZe on the other side of the bracket, but again, W7m come in as last major champions. They come in as grand finalists from SI. That kind of record cannot be ignored.
No, exactly. And I mean, we've seen some big semi-finals over the years. We saw, you know, the one that rings true to us, obviously, is FaZe and Damwon Kia at the time. But there was also at the Mexico Major, there was the huge semi-final there as well. So, you know, we've had some big games in semi-finals, and I just get the feeling with the way that we've seen these two teams come through, G2 and W7m, you know, FaZe aside, these have been 2 of the best teams that we've seen at this tournament so far. And if they can both show up and deliver today, we might well just get a bit of that overtime you've spoken about. We might just get some of that exciting back and forth. And I tell you what, I've been looking forward to this one all morning. I can't wait to get going.
You throw in like Alamau coming up against the Brazilians as well.
Yep,
he's the Brazilian that everyone from Brazil loves to hate as well. You know, I asked actually Titan yesterday, I was saying, how is he perceived really amongst Brazilians? And he said, you know, a good chunk love him, a good chunk, would you say, hate him? They're against him because he's on the enemy team. How can he possibly be someone that they can back up? But by the same token, that's just one of many stories coming into this game, like we've already said. Ian mentioned it on the stage. A 13-map win streak for G2, a 13-series win streak as well. If they hadn't dropped a map to Secret during LCQs, 21 maps in a row, G2 would be currently sat at. So Secret have got a lovely little token to hold the hand up and say, we were the ones who broke that win streak. But there's just so many stories coming into this game that you could fill library shelves with the stuff.
Well, this is it. The blip that G2 seem to have through stage 2 seems to, you know, it's long behind them. They've certainly shown, you know, a good mental resilience, and whatever, you know, whatever the issues were at the time, they certainly seem to have been dealt with. They've been put to bed, so to speak, and they're going to be looking to tuck in W7m nice and tight after this one, I'm sure.
Ready for their flight home on Monday. Other teams do hang around for the weekend, so of course get to witness this absolute spectacle that's about to take place. Probably a bit bittersweet for the teams that got knocked out yesterday, because you're looking at this and thinking, oh, it's semi-final Saturday. Ian is getting in my head clearly with these lines that he keeps on bringing up. But there's just so many chances here that they could have had to be on that stage. Instead, they're consigned to watching this one play out instead.
Well, here we go then. It's time to get into it. We've got G2, we've got W7m, we've got a map to play as it's Consulate. There's only one thing left to do. And that's to see who comes out on top. When it looks at the social prediction, it's going to be G2 favoured. They always have a very good backing, a very good fan base, so that's not too much of a surprise, but I get the feeling there's going to be some heat.
Well, let's get into it then. It's time to load in for Consulate in this best of 3. Let's hear you guys. This is it then, Tim. This is what it all comes down to. We had a little bit of smack talk there that you guys wouldn't have seen, but Benja popped up and asked, so which player was Alamau meant to replace on this team again? And Doki was in there saying JV saved himself this tournament. The mental warfare has already begun.
Certainly has. We're going to have our bands beginning as well. Ying will be the first to be put on the sideline for Consulate. Consulate, an interesting map choice as well, obviously mentioned on the desk by Fresh. W7m have banned this out consistently. So, you know, we look at that and you've got two trains of thought. Do they not like playing it, or are they hiding it? Are they keeping hold of it for when they need it? They know that G2 are going to pick it because G2 have put a lot of work into Consulate. They've been, you know, had some great performances there. We've seen it from them. So I get the feeling we're going to have two teams that are more than happy to play on this map. It's going to be Grim that is our second ban.
What's interesting is looking at it historically, W7m would always ban away Ying and Valkyrie against G2, almost without fail. I think of the maps they played, there were only 2 or 3 cases where those operators weren't banned away and it was map dependent, whereas here, you've got a little bit of a flip. Instead, it's W7m coming out with these spicy bans. The Grim and the Solus coming away here. We've seen G2 run the Mute, the Mozzie, the Solus on Nighthaven in particular throughout the competition. So I think here again, it's just that goal to try and weaken the intel denial game coming out of G2 because it can frustrate these teams. And that final ban, the Valkyrie, some things never changed him. Unsurprising to see that one also being removed from the field.
We're going to be getting into things then. Round 1 is going to be underway very, very soon. Before we do, I just want to give a bit of a shout out to our crowd in Atlanta here as well. I've got to say, yesterday, they were so noisy. I was sat out there for a couple of maps yesterday, and it was very enjoyable. We've had fish being brought along. We've got an extra one. I've seen a clownfish out there today as well.
I honestly think, Tim, I think what's happening after the show is the fish are going away and they're breeding because we just keep on getting more fish every day we come in. It's ridiculous.
That's it. We've got Joel's relative. We've got the clownfish brought along.
Well, what's Joel's relative called? I forgot the name.
I don't know.
No, you've got to make one up. That's the point.
Oh, okay.
Come on, Tim. Where's the synergy, my man? Where's the synergy?
Honestly, I really fumbled on that one.
I'll let you get away with it, though. Love the Azami outfit, by the way. That
Absolutely
is awesome.
All the cosplayers that have been here as well. We've had some, unbelievable, as they always is, every single time. Such a great turnout from that community as well. And they've been absolutely fantastic. But we've got a game to focus on. We're going to be heading in now. It's the action phase. We're going to have our first site, which is Piano. And that is going to mean that G2 are looking to hold on to that top floor.
Onto this ground floor even here, yeah, stepping in as well. Looking at it though, we've still got the Mute and Mozzie on side from G2. I mentioned that Solus ban coming on through and at least reducing the strength of that triple intel denial game that they love playing. It's still going to be really oppressive to deal with, but nowhere near as bad for W7m. And I imagine a big part of this goal for them is going to be that top floor control to kick things off. We've seen a lot of DKB and Lion in this tournament. Not seen too much Jackal being paired up alongside it, but with all 3 of those operators lined up, there is going to be so much Roma suppression coming out of this W7m team.
Virtue already coming under heavy pressure, but he's going to win out that first fight. Herds, he's going to be taken down, and that leaves W7m looking to fight from distance, but Uno, he's there to back him up. Uno had a fantastic day yesterday, and he comes in hot, looking to continue that streak. I
thought we might see some top floor control coming in, but instead they've opted to go basement side and work their way up. But so far, they have been utterly refuted by the side of G2. 2 early kills coming in, no basement pressure under their control. You've got Philippok still flirting around Boiler at the minute, playing on the Lion, hoping to push on through. But for W7m in a 3 versus 5, these are the kind of rounds that G2 just don't throw away.
Unlikely. Philippok is going to be heading up those yellow stairs slowly, wanting that slow peek around the corner, see if he can catch anybody out moving. He's actually going to find himself all the way up at the top, but all the way down as Doki puts him down. Nade somehow has managed to wriggle into a position to put this diffuser down, and I'm not sure that G2 were aware that Nitro comes in a little bit late. They're going to have to play the retake, but in a 5 versus 1, you've got to say that JV92's really got his work cut out for him here. Finds the first, can he find the second? Yes, he can. 1 versus 3. 1 versus 2. JV92, he's on the way, Des.
Well, Benji's at least trying to stick this one out, but he needs the cover to come on through. He'll try and make this all the way through. The vertical is there, and Uno, the angel of death from above, gets the vertical denial. A little bit of a nervy moment there, though. Tim, JV almost completely undoing them.
Yeah, there was certainly a moment there where I think a few G2 hearts will have been in mouths at that point, because that triple kill from JV just really started to spin things on its head, and you just know he's one of those players that really does have the ability to turn around a situation like that and to get it done. Especially, I think G2 maybe just got a little bit excited there. It was a 5v1, the diffuser's down. There was kind of a bit of a rush to get back to site, and they just really did feed into JV92 around yellow stairs. So something to be aware of, but I'm sure that they will be.
G2 I mean, we're focusing on G2 a lot here, but given the start of the game, it's always worth talking about as well. G2 have had a couple of slow starts to maps, or at least series, throughout this entire competition. You think about the classic Ramallo timeouts that come in after a couple of rounds and just say, right, boys, chill. Get the communications together, play back in a bit tighter. Fresh did a wonderful telestrator showing their skyscraper approach and just showed how they tightened things up a little bit and suddenly everything massively improved. So I think the same thing would have come out from G2 here if they found themselves going down a couple of rounds, but they managed to recover that one on their own, got a good setup in the post plant, was a little bit nervous for a second. I honestly think the mute jammer coming through onto that wall that blocked off the Ace Selma, that won it for them. So just that simple act of a mute jammer on that individual wall, for me, made that round doable for G2. Otherwise, I could have seen JV walking away with a 1v5 and a defuse.
We're heading up to the top floor for round 2 then. It's going to be console office. Doki is currently quite aggressively holding admin at the minute, and I'm interested to see how W7m deal with this hold that G2 kind of pioneered really around the top of Visa stairs with the shield in behind the vending machine, just holding down to that whole corridor area and making it difficult to push out of admin. W7m are going to have an answer for that, and that's either got to be direct, they've got to have a plan to clear it out, or it's got to be an alternative. It's got to be move in from elsewhere, which it looks at the minute like they might be doing. KZ's going to get underneath in Piano, try to use those vertical nades just to ensure that they clear in behind that console desk, and it might just start to open up the windows a little bit for them.
Given the fact they're all positioned on the west side of the map here, there's no pressure coming in towards admin, for example. It feels to me like they want to get in below, get some nades coming up, use the Flores to move players around, and then look for a plant in through window. And sure enough, there's that first nade kill that I was on about. It's Alamau being found out.
Yeah, Herds was the first death last time, but makes amends by picking up the first kill. Nade is in position on the window with Diffuser in hand. We actually see him rappel in, but Benja manages to take him down. That's Diffuser down cold in sight as well. So W7m, it's all swung for them, and where they were kind of on the front foot, they've been pushed back by G2. 2 important kills. Herds manages to get a second KZ onto Uno, and W7m know they've no Diffuser. They know that they just need to find the kills, and boy, do they start finding them.
Need a bit of a clutch here out of Doki, but it's not going to happen. Herds, as we've seen so many times this tournament, just takes control of a round and marches on forward. A good recovery because that vertical nade play coming in, we saw Felipox use both of them, find absolutely no one. And really that playoff, vertical control, clearing out west side of top floor, getting a plant in through the window was their game plan in that round, and they sort of had to adapt there. So full credit to W7m, figured out things really well despite the disruption coming out of G2 in the early round and managed to pull us back to 1 apiece.
I think that's basically the perfect start to Consulate for everybody watching, at least. It's exactly what we wanted to see. 1 round either way, and it really sets us up for the potential of a very close affair here. A back and forth, beautiful kill onto Alamau with the nade to kick things off. And W7m just never really slowed down. The one sort of blip in the plan for them was nade getting in through that window. G2 dealt with it well and put Diffuser down, but W7m sent a bit of a message that, you know, just because you've got the Diffuser on the ground, it doesn't mean you're going to come away with the round.
I was curious to see which sites are most popular here, because Split, we very rarely see. We've seen it played 3 times, all tournament long, and it just hasn't been won. That's literally it. 0% win rate, yet G2 have opted to take that slightly different approach here, not starting on the top floor that has been the most popular site, starting on Expo first, then going top floor, then moving across towards this servers and archive split, or servers and tellers split, sorry. So I'm quite keen to see how they approach on the attacking side as well, but it feels like G2 are playing this game of trying to catch W7 out a little bit, go to these different sites, and the beauty of this map is all 4 sites are playable, so you may well see the basement getting picked up in the next round or any of the following too.
Absolutely that. It looks like W7m for the time being are trying to push in to the basement, but they're also paying a little bit of attention to admin. You'd historically have seen them push in vertically, try to, again, get that vertical superiority, but for the time being, it looks like it's going to be quite a direct approach, maybe quite lateral, get themselves into garage, control, long angles, and then drop those hatches to apply pressure into archives from both sides, but they still need to move Alamau for 1. He's going to be in a tricky position for them at the top of the stairs there when they try to move through.
Calls coming in quite early on as well, just trying to get early control of the map here, and you can see really for G2 a couple spread out towards the west side of the map that you can see through these outlines, a couple playing up on the ground floor as well. Still good map control being taken, but for Leapox, he's snaking his way through construction, holds him. I don't think they know that he's here right now.
No, I don't think they've got any idea, and he's got Herds in support as well, who I think is who they are aware of, and Virtue's going to take him down with a Nitro. Felipox might be left wishing that he'd moved a little bit quicker. He does manage to get that trade there, but Herds was still lost along the way. 4v4, Alamo, he's tucked tight around this corner, and I'm not sure that they're aware. KZ is going to be finished off, which will give him away, and Nade manages to find him through the drone hole.
We love a toe shot or two, Tim. Really good stuff there. These trades going back and forth. Both teams trading out players one after the other. Alamau going down is a bit of a stinger because he had those smokes in back pocket. Excellent for the denial, as we know, in the late round, lasting a good while, really forcing the attackers to have to make a risky decision. Whether you're pushing in through smoke or rotating players away, it forces action from the other side. Now, they are inside of sight, Tim. Nade's got the shield in hand to make use of here as well. Going to try and stick a plant out on this one. Uno's in a good spot, but didn't know. Felipox is close. Has found himself a double. Nade into yet another. It's a 1v3 yet again, and Benja is forced to drop, and W7m are getting ahead here, Tim, 2-1.
A great setup from W7m there, just got control of sight, knew exactly what they needed, and basically took nothing extra. You know, they didn't waste any time or bodies chasing after areas that they just didn't need to get that diffuser down. They knew if they could get Nade tucked in there behind those racks, that he'd be able to get that diffuser down under at least a moderate amount of safety. And you could see that as G2 had to filter back into sight, they were able to pick them up. They were just running into lines of sight. They never really had a chance in any of those gunfights. So W7m, again, I like what they're doing here. We've seen it 2 rounds in a row. It didn't work out really on console office because Nade got picked up as soon as he went in. They still got the round, but it was based on kills. But W7m are playing very much objectively here, trying to get themselves in, trying to get that diffuser down, just looking to create the small amount of space that they need to do so.
What I really want to see G2 doing in this round is playing a bit closer together. I mentioned it last time, you had them spread a couple out towards the west. You had a couple playing on first floor. And it just really made things easy for W7m to get their push forwards. And sure, they lost a player or two, but you had someone pushing bottom of E-Box very, very quickly. You had Herds pushing in through Visa. You had Felipox bottom of Construction. They've walked into so many good positions around site there, and no one on G2 has really been able to challenge. Sure, they got the first kill, but they've always been responded to with a trade. So W7m was really good paired up play, made sure they were always staying at least even with G2. And again, because G2 was so far off site, it was all too easy to just hit site, take control, and force G2 to come to you.
Yeah, W7m doing a great job so far of just basically disrupting what G2 want to do, and that's by not playing into it. They just have their own game plan. They're just heading straight into sight, thinking about that objective, and forcing G2 to be the ones who are reacting to them and what they're doing. So for the time being, they've got most of the runouts covered. The Claymores have gone down. The due diligence has been paid. KZ's going to get himself up onto the top floor, and that's going to leave them with JV92 opening up the closet, reviewing. They are this time looking for that vertical control. They learned the lesson last time in Piano. Uno was able to shut it down from above. W7m, they want to make sure that doesn't happen again.
Yeah, last time it was all about the vertical nades. Doki steps up with the entry in this round at the very least as a starting point, but yet again, the trade is there. I love how close we're seeing W7m play together. Just everything is coming down to a 2v1 or making sure they have an answer. Here, they pulled themselves ahead as Alamau's been taken down as well. C4 offline. Looking a little bit ropey once again for G2. W7m just looking clinical, like they're on a mission here today, Tim.
Yeah, certainly starting to struggle a little bit, and we've seen the attackers have difficulties on Consulate so far. It's a big map, there's a lot of small rooms, a lot of clearance work needs to be done, so G2 having the defense to begin with need to really be trying to get a few rounds in the bag here and take the pressure off when they are on the attacking side. JV92 is going to take a lot of damage, and Benja is there, steps around the corner and finds himself a nice easy headshot.
Benja absolutely loves playing lobby desk. We've seen him play on Mozzie a few times across the competition where he'll just sit there, wait for all the drones to be exhausted, and then spring up and make his play. It's not quite the same play there, but he's used the explosives as the information as well as damage to know when to swing. Because very fair chance, JV knows he's about to get pushed. He has to get out of there, and sure enough gets to turn back. And now Benja started moving, just misses the second. Makes it a 2K in the round and brings us 2 versus 2. It's Uno and Virtue to hold out against Felipox and KZ.
KZ's going to take a lot of damage there, but the vertical control is starting starting to hurt G2. They haven't been able to retake above, and it leaves Uno in a 1v2 on site alone as he moves around. He knows that the pressure's there. He just needs to bide his time. He knows that there's going to be an opportunity onto the Ash, but Philippox is getting that diffuser down once again. Uno unable to hit shots here, unable to affect that diffuser, and again W7m have just been able to focus on that objective and get the round done. As you say, it's going to be very difficult for Uno from here as he steps through. He's going to be shut down by Philippox, and that's W7m taking round 4. It's 3-1.
Like I mentioned, this is probably the time for a timeout, I think, as well. You've 3 rounds lost in a row now for G2 on the defensive side of this map. I mean, fun story as well. So W7m picked to start on the attack. Like, that's crazy. 2 maps in a row, they're going to have to start out on the attacking side here. Sure enough, G2 tack timeout coming on in. I want to see them change here what I mentioned earlier on. I'm hoping Rams caught it as well, is how far apart these players are playing right now. You see constantly, W7m take a gunfight, they lose it, G2 get the entry, there is an immediate response. It isn't happening the same way. Alamau got picked up in the mid-round, no response from G2. And outside of some heroics from Benja, really, they had no chance of getting back into that round. So tighter play, playing off each other. You're giving far too much to W7m here in the gunfights because you're too scared at giving up map control. To concede a bit of ground in favor of playing together, I think is what we've got to see in these next 2 rounds.
Yeah, W7m showing good adaptability as well. The first time that they attacked onto Piano, they tried to move in through the basement. They tried to, work through Yellow Pillar. They got taken down by Virtue. Uno was in support of him. This time they look at it and they say, no, we're going to go for top floor control. We're going to completely sort of flip reverse what we're trying to do on the attack, and it just worked beautifully for them. They did well to get hold of that top floor control, even with only 2 members remaining on side, and it basically won the round out for them as that diffuser went down with good cover, and it leaves G2 now in round 5, smarting a little bit from a 3-1 start, and they're going to be back up onto that top floor. The frost comes along this time for Benja. That's just going to prevent that rappel in through the window being too dynamic, at least, unless that's been taken out.
I think you're going to see nades rifling on through, Flores softening things up before you see the Amaru play coming from KZ here, no doubt with the diffuser in hand, but again, that timeout for me, we've got to see them playing a little bit tighter together. We're not breaking out of the site rotation, though. We've seen first floor, second floor, and then split site in that first quarter. We're so far following that here in the second. Curious to see if we replay the split site going into round 6, but first and foremost, we've got to get through this one. Again, looking towards the DKB that you are going to see basically every round that it's available. Just really helps them sniff things out from below with those nades in the back pocket of Herds, and also, I imagine, helping Philippox get in and clear out some of the utility or force players away from key positions.
G2 at the moment need to get themselves running in this one. We've said, so far they've not lost here. They've gone through win after win. And you just ask how much of G2 been tested up to this point. Is this going to be the real first time that they have their backs against the wall and they're sort of facing that pressure? And can they stand up to it? Alamau, he can't stand up. That's going to be 3 smokes gone as well. Herds taking him down with a big opening kill, and a little bit of all chat going on as well.
Oh, they love it. Every single round end, they've been in all chat, just winding Alamau up as best they can, writing some Portuguese back and forth, but for Alamau there, it's a bit of an ego peak. There's no reason for you to swing that window. Knowing that they've been working off the top of the roof, there's a very fair chance someone's going to be holding that angle, or at least in close proximity. And you stepping out, well, you just pay the price for it. They're down without their smoke yet again. KZ into a second. G2 not playing that tighter gameplay that I mentioned. You've got Doki off towards Spiral. You've got one playing inside of sight. Uno on the Warden. Still really scattered here.
Yeah, very isolated. And it's very much about can you win your individual fights. But when you're coming up against 2-3 players from W7m, those individual fights become extremely difficult. And that's what G2 are seeing at the minute. So the pressure will continue from W7m on the yellow side of the map, trying to get themselves in and around bathroom. KZ able to just rush in on the Amaru here. Uno's just holding tight, preventing that rappel coming in. Doke does manage to pick up KZ. They're going to block off the window. So G2 just battening down the hatches a little bit, but it doesn't matter when JV's going to walk up Spiral, create the space, and W7m grab themselves another round. This one is running away from G2 quickly.
Even when you've got players like Doki pulling off a brilliant play there, the man's got massive gonads. He sits there while the Kiva barrier is being beaten on, turns off the mute jammer so you won't get shot by the player coming up yet, or mute jammer. Doki, be cool, sorry. While the player's coming up, maybe pick Clash. That wouldn't be a bad shout because surely it can't go much worse, right? But he turns off the call, while the player from yellow rounds the corner. They can't hear him, not quite sure where he is, and he does walk away with a kill. But that's just a small speed bump in W7m, who every gunfight they're stepping into after round 1, they have looked unstoppable. And sure, you look at a couple of things like, sure, Alamau shouldn't really be peeking that window and dying so early on the smoke. We shouldn't really be seeing them stepping into these gunfights when they know W7m are going to win them at range. Doki being shot in the back. It is just crumbling down here, and again, it's got to be a bit tighter in team play. Last round of the half, though, Tim, it's going to be down in the basement. Like I said, you can see all 4 sites on this map, and that's exactly what we're getting.
G2 really need this round.
Sorely.
Simple as that. A 5-1 half, I won't quite call it catastrophic. You know, it could always be worse, but a 5-1 half is going to be a very difficult comeback. I mean, don't get me wrong, this has been a major of comebacks. We saw a real attempt from SSG yesterday, which was a fantastic watch, and, you know, who knows, maybe G2 can channel a little bit of that spirit to try and get themselves back into things here, but you just look at it, and if W7m get 5, they only need to be able to lock down 1 site on the defense. They only need those 2 rounds to be able to close out the first map, which is, of course, G2's map pick. And you just look at it, it's been a permaban for W7m.
It has.
It looks like they've been hiding it. It looks like they've been ready to go.
Hiding it more to a degree, I imagine, counter prep against G2. They knew coming into this series that G2 were going to pick Consulate. It's one of their go-to bread and butter maps at this point. Didn't start the tournament that way, but has certainly grown into it as we look over history. Now, for them, they can look back at all the games G2 have played and gone, look, we know exactly where the players are going to play. We know what the setups are going to be. We can deal with this. They get 1 trick off onto the wall, but I imagine at this point, you're going to see a little bit more hesitation coming out of W7m. They need to get this right, because otherwise they're stuck using those 10 openers from Buck to try and get this wall open.
Yeah, just trying to send the nade in. KZ's getting it lined up. He just wants the pressure in behind there. Virtue does manage to avoid it, and he is going to get the second trick. That is big for G2.
Really good play coming out from W7m. Virtue hanging on by the skin of his teeth down here in the basement, but the wall stays closed. That means now Herds has probably got to be the one to step up and get this open if they want it, but also remembering they've got to attack him from server side as well. You need this pinch on this site. They've already got 2 players out towards server. They aren't going to get main breach. That is now a big problem that W7m need to overcome.
There's another problem for them as Doki manages to take down KZ. JV92 is trying to push those Visa stairs. He's trying to move his way through, but G2 are holding tight at the minute. He manages to find Alamau, but this is better from G2. That is the interplay that they need as a team. One goes down, someone's there for the trade. Benja picks it up and then gets himself out of danger. It's 4 versus 3. There's only a minute left on the clock, and W7m now, they've been left scrambling.
They have. Again, you've got to try and piece together an attack here because you can't pull off what you wanted to. You bring a glass specifically to play behind the smokes from the thermite, but you can't get the breach open. You're a little bit screwed in that situation, and you've still got G2 players out roaming around the map. Now, Benja's about to get challenged here. This is a big one to win, and he will win it against Herds. A 4v2, but we almost saw them lose a 1v5, but Benja is not going to miss his shots. It's Philippox all by himself. That 4-2 half for W7m looks all but locked in right now, and sure enough, it will be.
Just really needed those moments for G2 there. A 3K for Benja, a double for Doki, and it may well just propel them into that second half. We've said it a few times through this tournament. If you're going to win 1 or 2 rounds on defense on the first half, make sure that one of them is round 6, because you can at least carry that momentum into that second half. G2 move on to the attack, and it might just give them a little bit more freedom at least. On the defense, you've got your setup, you've got your positions to play, and you kind of feel like, yep, you've got to hold on to those, and it's difficult to maybe play fluidly, whereas on the attack, you're problem solving, you're going in there, you can say, right, this isn't working, we're going to move elsewhere, we can change things up, and maybe, just maybe, that is what G2 need.
Maybe, just maybe. They're very good with their attack inside. You hear the devs talking a lot about their prowess on that attack, right? This is where you should see them start to shine. And again, with the fact that W7m chose to come to attacking first on this map, just goes to show that there's definitely something here in these top teams when it comes to attacking into Consulate. Let's get things underway though, starting off here, Tim, on the top floor. Pretty much the most standard go-to map on this, site on this map, sorry. G2 obviously tried to mix things up a little bit in that first half, but couldn't quite get the numbers to end what they would call a strong half.
I was interested to see whether we would see the Amaru with Sinalamau make use of that on Consulate a couple of times. It's not going to be for this site. Instead, bringing along the Zero. So good, you know, a great operator really, and a little bit underused sometimes. I think he's got that hard breach. He's got information utility in terms of his cameras. You know, there's all sorts going that he can bring to the table, and that's going to be a down onto Nade. Benja unlikely to know at this point, unless that's picked up on a drone. He's just trying to spray through. I think that gives them a good idea that there's something going on above them.
They look a little bit nervous going for this as well, but they managed to get away with it. I was going to remark, we've got Jaeger and Wamai on side, but G2 are absolute vertical nade merchants. They love this. I speak about the stat line all the time, but Benja double the second place number of explosive utility kills back at SI. And Doki said, I said this to Doki yesterday, and he was like, but I get a lot as well. And I'm like, okay, fair enough then. And they're doing that just now, Tim. So bring Jaeger and Wamai all you like. G2 love their vertical nades. You are not going to be expecting them to go laterally. And so far, they found that down, turned it into a kill off the back of it. And Doki is still going fishing.
It just gives you a good idea as to the information that they get in above as well, because they have such a good read on where these players are. KZ is going to be able to pick up Benja, leaving us 4 versus 4. Nearly halfway through the round now. G2 just need to be thinking about what control they've gained as well. Yes, they've been able to use those vertical nades. Yes, they've been able to do a bit of damage and get an opening kill. But what have they done in terms of map control? If it comes to the point where it's time to put that diffuser down, right now, they wouldn't be able to.
The square between Herds and Virtue here as well. Who moves first really is this big question. And that'll be the fight, I think, over that east side of the map, on top floor. Virtue pushing in off the back of it now. Doki also working his way up Spiral. They're trying to push in at the same time here and make this work, but it's just not really coming to fruition yet.
No, W7m proving to be a bit of a brick wall on the defence here, not really allowing G2 any space. Like I say, no real control of site itself at this moment in time with any view to getting the diffuser down. Doki's just sort of roaming around underneath, thinking where it is going to be best to pop up and strike. But with 50 seconds left to go, he's going to have to make a decision sooner rather than later.
Well, he tried Spiral and got blocked there, so he's moved his way over towards Yellow now. So G2 are trying to poke holes in this defence, find the right way through. But here comes Herds at the backside, and Doki, can he spin and win the fight? Yeah, Doki manages to find the kill. There's still one more top stairs, though. G2 are still in a 2 versus 3. W7m remain on top.
W7m might have the lead, but they can't be giving G2 opportunities like that. KZ going to take a lot of damage through the soft wall there, but Virtue
gotta go.
Can't find the kill. 20 seconds in G2. They have no option here. Virtue, Doki, you got to move, you got to go, you got to find these kills. Pops up from behind the long dash. JV92, he gets the first, taking down Doki, and there's the second onto Virtue. And W7m, they hold on, and they show us that they are going to be very difficult to move on these defences.
Always regarded as a team with a very wide map pool. You know, at this point, you're probably adding one more to it. Consulate being that permaban through all of Stage 2, through all of this tournament, and showing, my God, can they play it? Schooling G2 on this map so far. Attack, defense, they don't really seem to care, Tim. And that really sets up for a pretty exciting map too when it comes round to it, because, well, exciting if you're a W7m fan anyway. It feels like at this point the momentum is so strongly with them that we're going to have to see something really magic come out in the break between these two maps.
Going to be heading into round 8 then. G2 going to be looking to reset a little bit after that. They had some good progress to begin with. They got themselves underneath. They obviously had a lot of information. The vertical nades were kind of working for them. They got a kill. They, were able to follow up on that down as well. And it felt like there was something going, but then as soon as it came to moving on to the top floor, they just weren't able to dislodge whatsoever. There was no attention given from G2 really over towards the admin side, and W7m were just able to use that as the wall to brace themselves against, to push back from the onslaught that was coming from Spiral and Yellow.
It's another one of those rounds that I look at when I touched on Doki playing in bathroom earlier. Had some really good micro play around the keeper barrier, around the decay cool coming in. You've seen it again in that moment. He's won a really good gunfight. But these things happening in isolation in a round are never going to be enough to win when W7m are just trouncing you in every other category. When it comes round to positioning, when it comes round to gunfights, when it comes round to information, they're just on top in every other way. And G2, you know they're getting a bit desperate here because that shield is coming out. They want to try and make this work, but it does require getting in through the breach first and foremost. Nade almost losing his life there from the long shot.
Yep, definitely needs to be careful now. He's going to block up that for the time being, but the breach is open and will likely be followed up on, and we'll see that keeper barricade will be cleared out. Nitro goes out. W7m maybe just looking a little bit a little bit rattled here as everything's getting thrown at this to see what sticks, but I'll tell you what sticks, a double kill from JV and Felipox. They take down Benja and Alamau, and that's going to be a big loss for G2. You've got Uno on side, and the more people that you lose along the way, the sort of less useful that Monty becomes.
So frustrating. Again, they've tried to make a push in here and lost 2. It was exactly the same as W7m on their push in towards in trying to get the breach open earlier on. Look, sorry, in round 1 when they tried to move their way through basement, they lost 2 players very early. The same thing has been undone to G2 here. And you just kind of sat there staring, well, what do we do now? We've lost 2 players. This is such a hard situation to come back from, and W7m have still got 2 C4s in back pocket to play behind. Virtue gets 1, but at this point, it feels like more of a consolation kill. Yet again, W7m are there with a trade, and it's all on Doki to clutch up big. And it's simply not going to happen.
KZ going to close him down, and it just really doesn't matter what questions G2 try to pose here on Consulate. W7m just have the answer every single time. Even at the beginning of the round there, I said it looked like W7m were just a little bit shaky, a little bit, right? You know, you had that damage done immediately to the Azami, you had JV sort of throwing that nitro out and just trying to get something going. He obviously felt he was being pushed maybe a little bit harder than he was, but yeah, W7m again just managed to steady things and just say, yep, that's fine, we'll wait for the gunfights to come. And they just, that's the big thing for me. They're just winning almost every single gunfight.
Herds just will not stop giving Alamau stick. After every single round, he's in chat, and here he's just walked in and said, look at you, you're 1-8 basically. It has been a rough map for Alamau. We spoke about the swings, the early deaths on the smoke, for example. The IGL for G2 are currently missing a little bit, and they really need to find him before we get into that second map.
G2, no more mistakes. It's 6-2, and they've got 4 rounds to find back-to-back, and with the way things have gone at the minute, it's difficult to see where they're likely to come from, Des. W7m, they're just taking us on a tour of Consulate at this point. They moved from Garage over to the other half-basement site. They're going to move over to servers on the backside of the map, so much the same from them, likely. They'll probably try to hold on around Yellow Pillar. They've got Felipox on the pulse over there. He's going to feed the information in for any push that's coming from that side of the map. There's not too much of a top floor presence at the minute. There is KZ, I think it is, no, it's JV92, sorry, up on the top floor on the castle. He does have the Oryx that can get up there quite quickly to support as well, but it might be an opportunity for G2 to get themselves established in the map.
Key difference here to G2's defense coming out is the pulse of Felipox. They're still playing very similar positions otherwise. You've even got Nade playing up where Alamau was on the smoke previously. Really trying to force their way through here. So Nade has got to be careful. All of them trying to work their way in. But for me, Pulse playing in the middle of this team can just feed information on any pulse or any pushes that come on through, let the team know when they've got to rotate resource around. That information game was what was missing for G2 on their defense, but W7m have plugged that gap.
Just very conscious still, G2, of the potential for aggression coming out of W7m here, because they've got the opportunity. They've got 4 rounds in hand, so they can sort of roll the dice a little bit, and that makes this even more difficult for G2 to play, because W7m can just get even more unpredictable. They can take those little risks, but for the time being, G2 have got themselves into a good spot here. They can start opening up that wall that's going to give them a long angle through into sight. He's just trying to prevent that, but they need to be careful. Those holes work both ways. And W7m have been picking up every opportunity that's been presented to them so far.
This attack is so tight coming out of G2. Everyone boxing in towards server except Benja, who's playing a bit of distraction, a little bit of backstab on the other side. This feels like a classic Siege Execute potentially building up. Hertz is going to find one. Benja getting his kill elsewhere on the map. The problem is, Tim, this is one of their site players going down here as well. This is the execute-focused gun they need. And really here, they're looking for crossfires to protect Uno on that push in. They've got no smokes to play behind, for example. Everything is going to be off this Monty, getting into a strong position, and a plant probably going down behind him.
This is it, and at the moment, it just doesn't seem like G2 have had that sort of look realistically. Uno just, again, dancing around that door, like you say, maybe just not supported enough to be able to get into sight. And with only 50 seconds left to go, there's work that needs to be done. There's hatches that can't be opened because they're electrified. There's, you know, so much stacking up against G2 here that it's going to be a very tough finish to the round. Herds, he's got that nitro place. If he hears that castle barricade knocked, he would have gone, but no, instead he's going to give himself an option to get onto the flank.
They're transitioning towards the ground floor hit, I think, here. They've abandoned on the downstairs, but it's a bait because Uno's still coming in through server. All attention has been pulled upwards. Uno, if he goes down here, it's over.
It's Alamo who's going to be taken out with a nitro from below. It's 2 versus 2, 15 seconds left to go. And Uno, he's going to have to find a position to get a plant down. He drops the shield to offer some sort of fleeting protection as that diffuser goes down.
Nade's
Will
going.
it be stuck? Benja needs to get through here on the cover. Nade manages to close it out, and surely that is the end of Conceal at W7m in quick fashion. Come in and send a huge message to G2.
Wow. W7m. They want that second trophy done stat, Tim. That was absolute demolition of G2, who, as we said, have not lost a map in 13 maps. And now you start asking that question, is that because they haven't faced a team like W7m?
G2 are shaking their heads there. I think, you know,
They know.
one thing we look towards, of course, is that SI Grand Final, slightly different rosters, but Cafe and Oregon were 2 of the maps that day, and G2 won both of them. They're going to need to do it again, Des.
Well, I'm sure the Nets have got a lot to say. Shell shots over there, fresh. Let's find out.
I mean, there's a lot that we could be saying about that game, but I feel like everything was said by W7m and the server. Dread from it, run from it, Destiny arrives all the same. That map win streak from G2, they hadn't lost since what, September the 24th or however long it was? And now it's finally been broken, and W7m are 1 map away from a grand final again.
Indeed, Jacob. And, you know, we talk about that streak coming through from G2, but who did they play to get that streak, Jack? Oh, Secret, Dun Limited, M&M, ITB, Fury, Dark Zero, Scars, D+, GK, BDS. Who are these teams? None of them are W7M.
No, that's absolutely true. Genuinely, I know you're flip-flopping all the way, Jesse. Backstage, you were saying G2 were going to win.
I never said that.
All I'm going to say is that was a very, very bad map choice. And I think we said it in the map bans, was that W7M have been permabanning away Consular and Nighthaven. Now, G2, they had to know that if they left Consular open against G2, they were going there. And G2 took that bait perfectly. Because W7M, they clearly played the map, and they chose to attack first on the map. We'd been talking about their attacks. Their attacks have not been that good. And we even said we want to see them closer together. We want to see them doing more direct takes, get into site early, giving themselves plenty of time, refragging each other. And that's exactly what we saw. A 4-2 attack half on Consulate is pretty much unheard of.
But you said this was a map that G2 were converting into their own. What the hell went wrong?
I said it, and I'm just going to say it again, is that when Alamau can be inconsistent, this G2 team is going to look amazing or very bad. And we saw exactly the same thing happen at Copenhagen main stage, where Alamau basically got a little bit of nerves, a little bit shaky against the Brazilian team then, and he's doing the same now. His scoreline individually affects his calling, and that, I think, affects G2 on the whole. And I think that's why you saw it be so one-sided.
There's 16 Brazilian players in our semifinals, and Alamau so far looks like the worst of all of them. He really did struggle 1-6 through that first half. He got 2 exit frags on that very final round, so congratulations, he triples his kill count up to 3, but still struggling through the majority of that game, really just not in it, not able to win those gunfights. And I think especially when they switched over to attack, that was notable. He was in very early on both those rounds. He was the key focal point on a lot of those pushes, being really trying to get in and find those plants, or not plants, but those openings for the push. And he was just always falling, never able to find that space.
Well, even if G2 looked like they were playing in a 5v4, we got to give credit to W7m for that first half. Because yes, it still ended in a 4-2, and they mentioned, hey, so long as G2 wins round 6, you can carry some of that momentum with you. But that entire game felt like it was won in how that first half went.
Yeah, no, genuinely excellent. As soon as it was like kind of 1-3 down, you knew where this game was going.
Yep.
And I think that's what I liked about W7M is they saw yesterday their attacks weren't working when they were trying to be split, when they were trying to lurk in and find those gaps. So they used the Dokkaebi to try and enable that. They put their fraggers next to each other. So at the very worst, they enabled a refrag, and they played that split theory perfectly on their half. And that's what you see, a 4-2 attack half on Consulate. Makes hard maps to attack look very easy.
Yeah, the very first round, we saw a big 2K in the basement, right? G2 were going out for this roam, and then we saw this the roam clear fumble from W7M. After that, they were focused so much on those direct takes. They were in towards Secret to get into the basement. They were in towards CEO to get onto the top floor. Whatever it was, they were focusing in to get that plant down, get control of site, and G2 had to retake their own bomb site. They never were able to successfully do that.
Well, even though G2 lose map 1, there's a little glimmer of hope, because if you remember the way the 6 Invitational Grand Final wins, W7M at the very beginning looked like they might be able to run away with things very, very quickly. And then G2 got in their heads a little bit, had a bit of a comeback in map 2, and then suddenly everything turned on its head. Can they do it in map 2? Oregon's coming up next. Don't go anywhere.
Hey, I'm Dominique Clément, game designer on Rainbow Six Siege. If you want to get ready to confront the next addition to the Siege roster, here are a few advice. Maverick's Flaming Gadget might be that one tool you can always rely on when it's time to melt through the enemy's defense. Training your sharpshooter skills, and more specifically, with gadgets like Zophia's Lifeline, will come in very handy when it comes to countering the effect of her fresh new face. Finally, it wouldn't be Siege if explosions didn't have an impact on your game. And this season is the perfect moment to review your frag throwing skills, because a well-placed bang might just be what you need to clear you and your team a path to victory. That's all for now, but make sure you tune in to the full reveal to get all the information on what's coming next season. See you there.
Hello, it's Mugli from Worlds.
I'm Doki from G2 Esports.
I'm NJR and I play for Dark Zero, and I'm ready to play some Drone in the Unknown.
Doki, NJR, watch out, I'm gonna beat you.
I'm gonna beat Mowgli, that's no problem.
I could definitely beat G2.
Okay, it's like a toilet or a sink. Ooh,
This box là, on the right side.
I've seen this before.
Yeah, it's blue stairs on bank.
It's gotta be bank.
Ah, I know. Blue stairs.
Yes, I knew it. Oh wait, where's the sink? Ah, I didn't know there was a sink there.
After seeing that, I'm confident for the rest of it.
Club kitchen.
The brick wall on the back is like, that's the whole theme of Clubhouse.
That's kitchen on Clubhouse.
No, I'm not playing in kitchen. I play in my room.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not surprised.
To be honest, I should know them all. If I don't know them all, I'll be embarrassed. Oh no, I've spoke way too soon.
I think it's pink, but I'm not sure.
I'm seeing a painting.
It feels like it's a big room.
I'm not looking at the actual paint, I'm looking at the stuff around it.
Oh, this is Teller's on Border.
Or is it consulate?
Bank lawyer's office, I guess.
I'm gonna say that it's Border, Teller's Archives.
Hey, it's what I said.
You said
No? I said Border, big room, Teller's.
Oh, it was! Oh! Yeah, the ceiling. That's genius for me.
Number 4. I'm seeing like a trophy case, some guns in them.
It's Pirates des Caraïbes.
So it's a gun cabinet, but the thing that I'm focusing on is the walls behind it. It's a very strange kind of brick.
Like, you know, it's like, trophy glasses, you know.
That's Chalet Trophy.
I'm pretty sure it's Chalet Trophy.
I'm right. Not surprised.
Oh, yes!
Oh, it's trophy. Let's go.
Oh, 5 out of 5. 5 out of 5. That is in consulate outside the garage breach.
Pretty sure it's consulate garage.
Consulate, garage. So easy. I'm not sure.
Let's go. That's how it's done.
Thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys at the major.
It's time to make history! One behind a solid wall, the pings, they're all in his favor, there's a C4, but
Hi, I'm Christopher Budget, Associate Game Director on Siege. Siege is a tactical game, and while there's no better way to learn than the hard way, we're working on various tools to help you train and level up your game. Next season comes Map Run, and while you'll have to wait to know more, I can already tell you you'll be able to train on your favorite maps, such as Clubhouse, Oregon, Bank, Consulate, Chalet, and Cafe. Map Run will also be the best tool to help you learn the new map coming this season. And whether you're playing solo or with a squad, jump into Map Run and train your aim and your skills, and you'll learn the new map. Your friends will thank you when you reach champion. So stay tuned for the reveal and learn more about the new map coming to Rainbow Six Siege.
There might be one map away from the grand final, but I think W7m like to think of it as one map away from revenge. All they need now is to win Oregon against G2, and they get vengeance over the result that they had from the 6th Invitational Grand Final earlier this year. I'm Jacob, he's Jesse, he's Fresh. We might just be on deck to witness the funeral of every single region in Atlanta, except for Brazil, given the result of this next map.
All hail our new overlords, BR. Thank God SI is being hosted in their country, because I think they're going to be coming very, very strong into that. Hopefully we'll get a good crowd interaction there. But, you know, Jack, I'm sure you've got some copium for us.
Just calm it down a little bit, Jesse. It's a best of 3. It's a best of 3. We were all in Montreal in February when G2 lost that first map going up against W7m. Granted, it was W7m's map pick. A bit different this time. But G2 lost the first one and then came back. There's still a lot of Siege 2 to be played. And yes, I might be huffing on that copium, but yeah.
Again, there's a little deja vu for this game because in the 6th Invitational, G2 did lose the first one and then came back, but they've lost the first map and it's their own pick. Now they go to W7m's pick. We're talking Oregon, Jesse. Anything about this spark any insight for G2 to maybe get a dub?
Well, the nice thing for G2 are there are some very recent VODs for W7m. They're great at this map, 3-1 record this stage, beating Keed Stars, losing to FaZe Clan, and then beating both BDS and GK here at the Atlanta Major. And it's not a bad map for G2. This is not a map that I think is super solidly one-sided for G2. Obviously, they are 2-0 this stage, taking out BDS and Dark Zero. Both those games were close, 7-5, 8-6. So there is a lot of footage also for W7m coming on through here, but that footage is more recent for G2. It's a very default map sometimes. I do think this could go either way, but you've got to feel confident about W7m still.
So W7m will be starting out on the attack. So that's key for me, is where will they attack? How will they attack? Because yesterday their attacks looked god-awful onto this map, and that was against GK. So they're going up against, you know, G2, who are, in theory, current world champions, will be much better and present a much better defense. For G2, when they played against BDS on this map, all the way back in EU League, they basically kind of played the operator ban phase a little bit to leave themselves mirror available on the defense. They started out on the defense. So maybe that's a tactic they might go to try and use the mirror, to try and use some of these power operators on Oregon to get themselves into a nice 4-2, 5-1 half, and then play it from there.
G2 were very solo on their defenses on Consulate. They were always alone. Maybe Benja would pop off and get a big 3K and win the round, but still it was individual plays. They gotta be playing more together here in Oregon, whether that's deep inside the site or out on the roam. I wanna see some good team play from G2. I wanna see some good trades.
I can feel a little bit of the energy in the room definitely shifted as soon as W7m won, because it went from, oh, G2's the best, to suddenly wondering whether their last hope, the team that isn't from Brazil, actually has a shot of still doing something in this tournament. And it feels a lot more nervous in this building. Guys, do we still think G2's got a shot in this series or what? Make some noise. Before we jump to map 2 real fast, let's talk predictions. Jack, do they still have a shot? Are we going to a map 3?
They've obviously got a shot. You can't just write off the world champions because they've had one bad game on Consular where they had no footage on their opponent. It happens. Teams lose maps. That's why we have best of 3s. Yes, they've got to play their opponent's map. Yes, they're going to have to beat W7m on Cafe. It's a monumental feat, but if any team can do it, it will be our current world champions. But I am going to reiterate this. All on Alamau. It's all on him to be the leader that this team needs right now.
So if Alamau is good, then G2 wins and we go to map 3.
Yeah, easy.
All right. Jesse, do you agree?
Listen, maybe I do agree, but he's not going to do well because the reigning major champions shut him out once. They can do it again. Atlanta, I know you're cheering for G2, but it's not going to happen. You got to face facts. W7m feels like a quick 2-0.
Do you just love being antagonistic on purpose?
Why are you booing me? I'm right.
A North American analyst booed by a North American crowd, Jesse. It's not a good look, mate.
I believe Why Are You Booing Me, I'm Right is the entire summation of Jesse J. Chick's career. Guys, come on, map 3 or what? What are we thinking? I said, do we want a map 3 or what, Georgia? Come on. Let's go to Designates to figure out if we are indeed going to map 3 or if it's just Brazil from here on out in Atlanta. Guys, have fun.
Thank you very much, Jacob, and you guys are spot on. This one, Tim, is looking pretty rough.
It's been a little bit dicey so far. However, I'm with Fresh. You got to remember, G2 lost that opening map at SI. It didn't stop them then, Des. It didn't.
Taste that copium, Tim. That's what I'll do you one better, actually. When W7m played FaZe in the very final best of 3 of stage 2, FaZe won Oregon and Cafe.
That sounds even better to me, Des. I'm on the
Load
whole
us up. We're straight in for map 2, exactly. Oregon is going to be, it's G2 starting on the defensive side. It feels so hard. It's W7m's map pick. They're starting on the attacking side. Sure, it looks everything's against G2 here, but for me, you just don't know what can come out of the current world champions. If Alamau gets himself back on his wagon, different conversation.
Look, for me, if there's one map, it's kind of difficult because the Brazilian teams are excellent, not Oregon. That's the problem. But if there's one map that's going to be good, it should be this one.
Well, let's load her up. Oregon is our next battleground. Here we go then. G2 last chance saloon, as we said. Not lost a series or a map in 13 maps or series. This will be one of those. They've already lost one of those streaks, Tim, but that 13 series win streak could be protected.
As I was saying, you know, if there is a map where G2 can do it, this takes a lot of other factors out of the equation for me. Almost takes a lot of strategy out of the equation. It takes, you know what the other team are going to do. There's no lack of preparation for this. We haven't seen VODs. There's none of that. It's just go in there and play a good Oregon. Every team should be able to do that. It's not going to be easy against W7m. As I say, they'll be playing and scrimming regularly against some of the best in the world on Oregon. So they are going to be sharp. They're going to be ready for it. They've picked it for a reason. But G2 have got an opportunity here.
Low energy, a frustrated Alamau herds in his head rent-free. The only way we can describe that first map, and I've already said it, for me, and the desk has said it too, Alamau's mindset change, being that IGL for his team, not letting W7m into his head is going to be crucial. So much so that they're asking, hello, are you here? You're not talking anymore. You were so mouthy before.
Honestly, I don't think we can understate how big an impact that could be because
it's brutal.
It really is. And, there is a mental game there to be played as well. And just keeping on top of it like that and just, not letting it go is going to make it very, very difficult to just switch off from and maybe... Yes, you can ignore it, but then can you...
You can't ignore it.
I think you ignore it, but then can you play with your same confidence? Can you be that loud figure in the team? Can you be that leader when you've got, you're constantly trying to ignore this other thing and just focus on your game at that point? That is going to have an impact.
You know what, Tim? I actually think this first round is probably going to be the biggest round of the map. And it sounds weird to say that when the score is 0-0. But I think for the mental game, this is the one. Downstairs site on Oregon. Many see it as an absolute fortress. We've got the Warden, we've got the Mirror, we've got the Wamai, the Fenrir, the Jaeger. G2 are digging in deep. They're planting their heels in the mud. They're holding firm. If W7m break this site with this kind of hold, I think it's already done from round one.
Yeah, I'd agree. I'm fascinated to keep an eye on Doki and see what he does on the Jaeger. Obviously, that's being brought along to try and keep hold of elbow, try and support players in those areas. It's actually going to be Virtue that's doing what I wondered if Doki would do, and that was just getting out into the map a little bit and just getting aggressive and playing sort of that free form and making W7m clear out. Doki at the minute is inside of meeting, I think, by the looks of things from his silhouette.
Yes,
Alamau's at the top of rear stage stairs, but like I said, Doki could be the one to watch here because he's got that availability now. His ADSs are down. He can get aggressive if he wants to.
You've got Benja up on top floor as well, so they are trying to play this.
Yeah, I like
game.
this. I like
Obviously, the frustration being that you're looking towards like Mirror and towards Warden. One speeds, they're slow as all hell. They're very noisy on the roam as well, so it's not like you've got 3 speeds charging around for fun anymore. Those days are very long gone. So at this point, I think it's more pressure to pick up a couple of drones and back in towards site. Really, Benja's the one that I'm looking at to cause a bit of an upset. And like you say, I think if Doki goes unchecked here, then suddenly, well, he could get the opener that really sets this round on fire.
They know that he's there.
There we go.
They knew that he was there. You could see it from the shots being sent in from the main door through the soft wall. They were trying to just dislodge Doki and get him to move. They did. He pushed around into meeting and Herds was just there waiting for him. W7m, they've got G2's number, Des.
They do. That's on the roam at the very least. Now, 4v5 is not unwinnable on this site, I don't think, either. Normally, the defenders end up very, very grouped together around the middle site. They end up around Highway, maybe poking in towards Freezer. You can kind of expend one person and still fill all the points that you need to hold. But my frustration, probably for G2, is look at what they're coming up against. You got a Capital, you got fire coming in, you got smokes coming in, you got loads of flashes coming in, you've still got a frag grenade to come out of KZ yet. They've got so many tools to roll with here that I don't think it matters what G2 do, they're still going to have to win so many gunfights to get this done.
Casey just keeping that pressure on at the bottom of Freezer stairs, and again it just lets G2 know that the attack is coming from multiple directions. W7m, they are not letting off the pressure here. They've got bunker presence, they've got rear stage stairs, they've got Freezer, they've got Laundry now. The diffuser is being moved down towards the front side of the site, and it is just getting so difficult for G2. They're just getting forced into a tight group in the middle in a little ball, and W7m are then going to go in and just try and cut through them.
They've got a 3 split towards the top side, one coming in through E-Box in the form of Herds as well. Uno's going to find one already. A second falls. Alamau's on the board, traded out straight away. It's 1 for 1 for 1 between the two teams, and they've got the mirror window, but he still wins. KZ has pulled off not quite the impossible, but a bit of a worker got there. Can't get the next, and G2 will take round 1. And I said at the start, Tim, that round 1 for me was the most influential round on this map, and we'll see if it turns out to be just that.
Not only is it important because G2 have won it, but it's important because W7m really felt like they were in the driving seat for part of that. As I said, they had presence at bottom of Laundry, presence in Freezer, they had presence in bunker and rear stage stairs. They really had G2 encircled and surrounded. And so in that situation, G2 have to stand up. They have to win the gunfights, and they have done that. And it sends a message to W7m. G2 didn't need to burn loads of time out in the map with the roam. It didn't matter that they'd lost Doki. They were able to get the job done when their backs were to the wall, and that is going to make W7m just think twice, I think, and it might just slow them down a little bit as well. So G2, a good first round from them.
In case you're wondering why, I mean, many of you will know this as well, but Jaeger, normally the go-to roamer, because once he's placed his gadgets down, bulletproof camera, the ADS is in back pocket, once they're out and done, he's just a roaming gun. And because he's a 2-2 as well, you can afford to expend him a little bit through these rounds, whereas the other operators coming onto side, all 1 speed, all very slow, normally have nitros to play behind, or gadgets they can still interact with. I'm looking at Warden there, I'm looking at Fenrir, I'm looking at the C4s in the back pocket of Mirror and Mute. So it isn't the end of the world to lose Doki, but obviously you'd want to see him getting a kill or 2 early on in the round, and hopefully at least close to his team where they can support him, because a couple of chats between the maps revealed that actually, yes, it was G2 failing to understand that W7m were playing for trades off each other, whereas G2 weren't. That really caused the problem that we saw snowball into a map win.
Round 2 then is going to see us go to the top floor this time for G2. For a defensive half for G2 here, I'm looking as a 4-2 absolute minimum. Really they want to be looking to win one of those third choice sites as well and give themselves at least, maybe a 5-1 even would be a great message to send, but it's certainly going to be tough. They do have presence up in T3 now. I'm not sure if W7m have spotted that out or not. That could be one of those positions to really keep an eye on in the last sort of minute or so. There could be a big flank to come off from that, especially if W7m start trying to pressure Attic.
I can't help but look towards Herds as well. My eyes just gravitate towards the operator who's on here in the Nook. They already know that the nades are being fired out. They don't know who from at this time, but he could be a real backstab threat if they aren't respectful of the fact that there could be someone very, very silent running at you on the other side. KZ, no way has he won that through the Fenrir gadget. One hell of a shot and gets his kill. Virtue gets a couple back on the other side. Doki, he does strike up. There's one on side of sight. Herds has struck deep into the heart of G2. It's down to a 3v3, a 3v2, a C4 out. They are wailing on each other, Tim.
Doki's moving in here, manages to find himself a pistol kill, and that is going to close out the round. G2 once again just showing an ability to stand up and be countered when it mattered. W7m there getting really aggressive, just wanting, I think, to just take the wind out of the sails of the G2 team. They know that first round was so important to them. They know that momentum could be a big thing here, so they tried to just knock it out of them, but it didn't work, and it's left W7m with a few serious faces across the team.
Not the dream start to their map pit there to hope for. They are on the attacking side, so in their mind, they're getting 1 or 2 rounds. They're not going to feel too beat up about it. We're coming into meeting in kitchen. It is that offsite. This is where you tend to see teams get those 1 or 2 rounds that they need on the attacking half of Oregon. But my eyes fall this time towards Doki, who has stepped onto the Solis. I spoke about this on the last map. It was banned away. We didn't see that Mute Mozzie Solis combo. I think Doki playing this out on the roam and dealing with drones as he finds them is going to be so much more impactful than the Jaeger. Well done, Tim, you've just lost your pen. That's a classic. Still, we've got the Thorn coming in as well for Uno in this round. That's the one that we've seen got the 1.5x recently. Not seen it picked up a whole ton in the competition, but clearly here with a little bit of flexibility, the Mozzie, the Solis, the Thorn can all creep in, and really the two things they're leaning behind is the Kai to keep meeting wall closed up, as well as Alamar onto that Fenrir, because we've already seen, well, maybe based on the last round you haven't seen how, but normally ridiculously powerful at isolating those gunfights for defenders and making attacks an absolute nightmare for those looking to get a bit aggressive.
Let's just give Virtue a little shout at this point as well. 5-0 has come up really big for G2 in the last couple of rounds, and we've seen this, Des. Sometimes he is that underrated player. When he is on his game and he's hitting shots, mechanically extremely gifted and can be a nightmare for teams to close down, and right now Virtue is certainly pushing G2 forward.
There have been a couple of backroom staff on G2, both current and old, that have said Virtue may just be the most mechanically gifted player in the game, which is high praise coming in from coaching staff. When you see the likes of Shaiko and Benja playing day to day, they're absolutely terrifying. But the reason why Virtue isn't always putting up big numbers is because he's got an incredible front line. Uno's round the corner this time round in the 4. Not quite the front line player you look for, but he's got 4 kills in the game so far, Tim. But normally, again, Benja, Alamau, and Doki are the ones always getting the kills in the front. Virtue's there when things go bad, and that's exactly what you've got him for. They step round. Great team play coming out of G2. Once again, they're playing off each other.
And that is what was missing on Consulate. Herds is now left 1v5. He is going to deny the flawless round, but it's very unlikely that he manages to get anything else in the bag here. Alamau has come up big with 2 kills in the middle of the round there. Fresh picked up on him at the beginning of this game, saying that they needed Alamau to be growing into it. They needed him to be finding his presence, finding his performance, and that might just be the spark that he needs.
I just love the strength we're seeing the backline players in Virtue and Uno so far as well. We had the Nook walking onto site last round. They still locked everything down. Between them, 9 kills across these 3 rounds. Again, you don't always see these boys shine because the frontline players are the ones doing all the work, but having that strong backline you can fall on, it takes you back to TSM SI21 when we had Charlotte and Geo that were just unshakable in the back, and that's when you got through the front 3 of TSM. So you're seeing a similar sort of style here where those 2 back players, unshakable, unmovable, and an absolute terror for W7m if they can't get their way through this team.
Herds taking his time, just waiting for opportunities.
Alamar needed that one for the confidence.
I think Herds just, I don't think he's, he's not in a position, he's not trying to buy time for his team here. They're not, I don't think, having, those sort of unofficial timeouts that we talk about sometimes. He's not trying to burn the round. He's got a lot of time to play with, and what he's doing is he's trying to bait G2 into taking this gunfight. He's wanting them to come and look for for him. As it happens, it really wasn't the best of outcomes for him, but he just wanted to give himself a couple of opportunities in 1v1s to bring those numbers down. He couldn't get it done. Doki picks up the final kill, and that's a full defensive sweep from G2. 3 rounds back to back, and they can now just cycle through and hope to do the same again.
Well, coach headsets coming on down. I see the microphones by the side of their face. It means that we are stepping into a tack timeout. Unsurprisingly, W7m pulled this one out. I talk about it all the time. If a team loses 3 rounds in a row, that normally is a great time to hit the brakes and just have a chat with your coach. Get them on side, let them observe what's been going wrong or going right and trying to emphasize those strengths more. And W7m here, they are looking a little bit shaky. We were talking in the break like, oh, is this going to be a 7-2, 7-2 semi and that's it? All non-LATAM teams are out. Or are we going to see a dominant first map for one side, a dominant second map for the other, and an absolute barn burner on Cafe? It deserves it at this level.
The thought of the potential of going to Cafe with both of these teams having taken a map emphatically is absolutely mouth-watering. There is no two ways about that. So we're going to head out of the tactical timeout any second. We've just got a few replays of a couple of beautiful kills from that round for you. The double from Alamau there. The second one particularly for me that allowed him to pick Virtue up as well, and that trade, that play that we just didn't see on Consulate, that was a big, big moment for this G2 side.
The big one really, just talking about this G2 roster a bit more, is Benja and Doki, your players that like to get out on their own and cause trouble. Alamau is that mid-line player. He can sync up with the front line or the back line. He is quite literally the link. He's also the IGL. He is like very much the cornerstone of this team, so when he was invisible last map, you can see why things were starting to fall apart. Here he's not exactly flying, but his team around him are absolutely cooking right now, Tim.
Well, this is it. You know, like you say, if your link players are missing, your front line and your back line kind of aren't connected, and it's easier to isolate, and that's what we saw. So heading back down to the basement.
Little change here, really looking in towards the Finca coming along. Still got everything else in terms of the Capital, the Maverick. They've got tools to play with still. It's just really KZ coming along here on the Finca that is the big change for them. Obviously means that you come out of skirmishes not too bad off. You can get healed up by Finca with that global ability. Yes, carries across the whole map and gives you a little bit of extra juice. So very good when looking for an all-in execute as well. For W7m, I expect a slower game to start things out. They want to establish map control. You've got to deal with Benja, as you can see here, hopping up through Attic on the top floor. But Doki has made himself known, has got a kill. But W7m, to full credit once again, are still playing together as this team unit. They get the instant trade onto him.
Yeah, they've done that very well throughout the game so far. And it must be wearing on G2 to, you know, every time you manage to carve an opportunity, there's always an answer for it.
I don't hate it though, because you've removed the Capital. 2 smokes offline, 2 firebolts, 2 tin openers, 4 that expendable operator we spoke about in the Jaeger. All his gadgetry is already down. He is just a free roaming gun on the other side. You've got rid of a gun and 6 pieces of utility. That is huge.
Well, Capital is certainly an influential operator. Herds is going to take down Benja, so that does put G2 under a little bit of pressure now. It's going to be Virtue, Alamau and Uno as that core inside of sight that are going to have to hold on. Not only that, but W7m have got a lot of time here, Des. They've got control of the entire map. They can now move around a little bit more confidently. The hatches can be dealt with by Maverick, so that can still be done. Supported by Nade on the ace as well. They can get everything they need here, can W7m, and they can do it with an awful lot of time to spare. The next couple of kills really need to go G2's way if they're going to win this and continue the streak.
This is where, again, you turn to your backline players in Uno and Virtue to go huge, because for W7m, again, full credit, they dealt with Doki very quick. They got the trade. Benja, they hunted down, knowing that he was alone on the top floor without Doki there to assist. They've played things incredibly well, and that's, I'm afraid, indestructible, man. I think only explosives get rid of it at this point. But the push may well come on through. Another Flores drone is going to come rattling on forward here. Should be able to get rid of that one, and that's none left in the back pocket of Herds here. So this shield very much staying in place. They're not going to lose everything to one Rotero like they did last time round.
No, that could be key for the round, but no, they managed to find a path. W7m, absolutely fantastic play there. Opening up that wall, opening up the hatch, and just getting the angle they need down onto Uno. He was in a no-win situation. And right now, 2 versus 4, 30 seconds left to go. W7m look like they've got the sails of first round.
Bit of miscom there, I think, as well, and the hatch being opened up. It always means that Uno is exposed. And Alamau in a good spot. He's going to find Nade here. Doesn't want to get too close to that hatch again, though. One inside a pillar. Virtue's found a second. I spoke about these backline players, Tim, and they're starting. Herds just misses one. Flicks onto Virtue. It's Alamau left against 2 here. Shotgun in hand. The knife comes out. Herds finds feels he's equal. But right now, Tim, they don't really look like equals. Herds is in his head.
No, I think again, W7m just had too much time there. Despite those couple of kills, it was a big ask in a 2v4 with that much time because they could just prod, they could poke, they could try from multiple angles, and ultimately that's where they got their success. Moving in from highway, just putting that pressure onto Alamau at the end. There was nothing he could do inside of electrical there. Flashed out as well. It was always going to be tough for him. Uno was in kind of a key position, and the way that W7m dealt with that was fantastic for them.
I think he said Franco to Alamau there during the pause between rounds, which basically translates to free. And it felt like it for Herds, who really coming up against someone with a shotgun. You'd expect Alamau to be blasting him to the high heavens every day of the week, but instead completely unaware he was being flanked inside of sight itself. But Tim, that is one of those crucial rounds that W7m are looking for on the attacking side. We spoke about it earlier. If you're walking over a couple of rounds out the attacking half, you're feeling pretty good about yourself. One is on the board. G2 need to hold on for 2 rounds, or W7 need to try and get these online so their defensive half suddenly becomes incredibly pressurized for G2.
Uno had been playing behind that reinforcement, but I think he was just a little bit concerned about the potential for nades or, other utility coming down and just dislodging him there, even flashbangs, and then him being pushed from bunker, so kind of had to do something. But G2 going to double down. They're going to head back to Laundry. They obviously feel that they can get this one done. Less of a presence off-site this time around. We've got Dorky round about rear stage stairs. I think that's about as aggressive as it gets.
Again, early on, poking your head above the first set of stairs just to collect drones is really the main thing you want to go for. Change on W7m side, no Flores this time, the Jackal for Herds. So really it's good for G2 that they've thrown everyone back on towards site, otherwise Benja would be getting hunted down. So nice response. It doesn't make the Jackal useless, still has the shotgun to do any soft destruction, not a ton to do downstairs, still has the smokes to play behind. He can still be a big part of this round.
Yeah, it's always useful to have that bit of information. Any drop of intel inside a siege can be vital. Maybe, it's just the bit of info that gives you that peak, that gives you that opportunity. But, yes, it's certainly not going to be at his most valuable here. Herds coming around the corner and just going to start that push to take control of rear stage stairs.
Checking everything. They are
very
relentless.
cautious.
Gadgets, anything they can find, they're just on the hunt for it, not just players. But now they know everything's clear. They've done the homework inside, 60 seconds, Tim? They can put all their attention downstairs. They have got so much time to play with. And this time around, the Capitao is still on side. This could be even easier than last time for them, unless G2 can work some magic with all 5 players being on site.
Yep, time has certainly been a key factor for this W7m attack, and how quickly they're able to clear the map to get themselves in a position to start pushing towards that step 2, which is preparing for the execute. So they're going to try to put a bit of pressure onto Bunker with Herds here. He's going to swing around that shield setup. It's still going to make it very difficult. Alamau just needs to be cautious there. Full white flash, but manages to get the nitro out. Already had it lined up beforehand, so takes his fight but doesn't find anybody.
Uno stepped back onto spot as well on the Fenrir. They stepped forward the C4 there and then traded it back out. So Uno is back on that position, freeing up Alamau to step back in and join the rest of his team elsewhere on site. Very much at the center of things once again for Leapox. 0 and 4 so far on the map. But again, Capitao brings a lot of utility. Doki starting out the fragging this time round. Benja tucked inside a Laundry side. And JV gets the trade back. Doki, as much as getting kills, there is always an answer from the LATAM side.
Certainly is. Uno, for the minute, is trying to hold on inside a bunker, and he may just be in a critical position as this continues. Alamau gets himself caught in a nasty crossfire, and it's all up to Benja and Uno. Benja on the ward, and he's seeing through the smoke. He's just checking the bottom of Laundry. He knows that there's somebody around there. The timing isn't with him, and he just misses the cross. It's all up to Uno. He finds one. He can't find any more, and W7m get round 5 and bring it back to 2-3.
Looking rough now. They're starting to figure things out on that basement site. So for G2, I think it's time to step away. Always curious if you come down to this situation where really you should have the advantage on the defensive side if you choose that as your timeout, but imagine they're going to save that for the attacking side. Kidstorm's going to be the last site that we step into then for G2. They held up there pretty well, but it was a very scrappy round. If you remember, the Nook just came charging up white stairs, was deep inside a site. G2 managed to recover, but this could be that 3-3 half that W7m are dreaming of, and I imagine that is going to play so hard on the mental of G2.
Yeah, it's going to be very difficult. I think after those first 3 rounds, G2 probably felt like they'd maybe settled a little bit, or maybe, had found the bit of momentum, had found the space, the gap that they needed. But W7m, this is what champions do, realistically. And I know that we've got champions on both sides of this matchup, but W7m, of course, reigning champions from Copenhagen at this point. this is what they do. When the chips are down, when things are tough, when it feels like you're under pressure, they always have that next gear. And it feels in those last couple of rounds like W7m have just kicked into another gear.
It's just beautiful watching W7m move as a team as well. If you look, when a player is making a move, no one is stood still. They're all moving at the same time. And Alam out here, he's looking for a gap in the W7m attack. He's trying to round his way on towards Pillar and take the fight on towards Big Tower. The problem being, you've then got someone dropping E-Box straight away, a construction's being pushed. There is just always 2 or 3 players moving in a given direction, and it causes chaos in the comms. And I look back to old school Wolves in EU. They were very good at saying 3, 2, 1, right, all 5 players are in. Herds, does he know? I mean, really should have had a freebie there onto Doki, but Doki just casually looks left. Oh, there's a player there. Freebie for me, thank you very much. This time round, that entry is not traded. For the last 2 rounds, it has been. Could be the start of something good for G2.
Yeah, Doki's got away with one there, I think, realistically. Doesn't necessarily hear Herds, I think, pushing. Doesn't realise that his gun barrel was going to give him away, but gets the job done. We've seen that a couple of times from Doki, both on Consulate and Oregon. So good for G2, get themselves the advantage. Like you say, they really want to be taking a 4-2 half. If you come away 3-0 and then it's 3-3 at the break, I think you're kind of asking what's happened at that point. Doki manages to find the second onto Nade, and then for Leapox, he's just trying to get anything he can get going from that master balcony, but has to drop away.
A little bit tentative here, yeah. You had the initial charge for where Herds was by himself, hoping to make a lot of space very quickly. Then had your hard breach, you step forward and get domed by Doki. It's not ideal. Virtue sat inside of security gets one. Fleetbacks might find a nade kill, but it feels at 4 versus 2 like this one is a bit of a rough ask for W7m to bring back. It could be that 4-2 half that G2 will be happy with.
Oh, G2 got lucky there, almost caught out reinforcing, but again, that team play just coming to the forefront. Somebody there on the cover, ready to take those shots and back each other up. All they've managed to find so far is Doki, but the damage was done from him for this round. He'd already found 2. Uno shuts out the round. G2 go for a 4-2 defensive half.
Honestly, I think both teams are going to be happy about that one. We'll see what comes next in this second half. W7m going on to the defensive side of their own map. They've got the defensive setups in mind. It's on G2 to work their way through it. Unsurprisingly, the crowd behind G2.
Starting to wake up into it a little bit more as G2 get them more to cheer about.
I hadn't turned around for like 20 minutes. It is very full now that I've turned around to look.
It certainly is. As I said, the crowd here in Atlanta has been fantastic, and now that G2 are giving them a little bit more to get behind, they are certainly stepping up to the plate. So we move into the second half of this one. 4-2 for G2 on the defense, and they're going to be moving on to the attack now. This round, for me, could be critical for G2. If they can come in here with a strong first attack onto Laundry, send that message, get themselves 5-2 and that bit of breathing space, it could, well, I won't say be plain sailing, but the way the last couple of rounds have looked for G2, the way they've been covering each other, the way they've been supporting each other, if they can do that on the attack, get themselves the space, maybe the opportunity to put the diffuser down, this one could start to roll downhill a little bit quicker for them.
Interesting sell coming in as well for G2. But that Grim on side that we saw banned away by W7m on the last map. Doki across onto the Finca, plenty of nades in hand again. Benja and Doki, they love these nade operators. Now for this site, you're not really going to see the vertical nade play that we are used to seeing G2 employ. Getting underneath, toss a bunch of nades skywards, get a kill or 2 or at least destroy a bunch of gadgets, and then look towards hitting the site themselves. So with that change in mind, it's going to be obviously dumping them in through things like E-Box. It's trying to move players around. Doki, though, I think he's feeling this map, Tim.
I was just going to say, Doki, as we've said so many times, is one of those players, a little bit all or nothing, and G2 really needed him to step up and have one of those all games, and he certainly is at the minute. The last couple of entries have gone his way. He's then been able to follow it up with further kills in the round, and if he can continue that, then we're going to find W7m on the back foot and seeing what they can do under pressure. Right now, W7m have got themselves all back to site, so G2, just like W7m had, have got 2 minutes to build that attack. How are they going to create space? What utility do they need to clear? How do they find that final execute?
Yeah, largely pull back here is the key thing, I think, for W7m, because G2 kept 2 out on the roam and paid the price in that 5 versus 3. At least with the discipline being shown here. Okay, we've lost 1. It really shouldn't have been our smoke going down. That is especially not ideal, but it is what it is. Let's play back on site here and look to structure in, ready for the hit. Now, G2 have done the work. They know that the map is clear. They know they can get themselves set up around these hatches. It's exactly what Uno is now going to start heading to do. Doesn't matter what he's playing in terms of an operator. he still has his duties of getting these hatches opened up. First one's done. Going to follow up with Kitchen off the back of it, security off the back of it as well, leaving Virtue to get lobby open, as we see on pretty much every basement attack on this map.
Time-wise, this is fantastic from G2. A minute 15 left to go. They've got hatches, they've got confident mid-floor control, they've got the Nomads so they don't have to worry about flanks. They can just completely focus on site and where that final pressure is going to come from. I don't know if Virtue is going to open that laundry hatch or not, but for the time being, they're just sort of probing a couple of different areas of site. They now go into a final droning phase, which is let's get a picture of what's happening on site, where is everybody, and then we can build that final picture. 3, 2, 1, in they go.
And there's a lot of them stacked up north side here. I'm always nervous when I see 3 players sat on the meeting hatch, because it's just a death drop. You walk in there and someone's holding down left mouse button, you're all dead. It's really scary. But there's one hanging on Shaiko's side. The pressure coming in from Virtue on top side. He's abandoned lobby. They're all just going north, Tim.
After the flash goes in to clear any potential utility that will stop this nade, Benja is going to send it down. The drop comes on through. Doki gets 2, but W7m, they stand up fantastically. There's Herds, JV92 finding kills. G2, they need to get moving again here. 15 seconds, and that's great from Alamo. 2 versus 1 now. Herds, he's stuck back in Freezer. There could be an opportunity for them to get this diffuser down.
But he could ruin everything here as well. Net to 2k off the back of Doki's 3, and G2 break open that basement hold.
Such an important round for G2 to win. It gives them that breathing space. It's 5-2, and it also says we're here to win attacks, not just defenses. That momentum they had in the first half now carries forward, and they can try to lock down a second attack and give themselves that map point opportunity that will send us into Cafe.
Oh boy. Game on, boys and girls. Game on. At 5-2, it is a tall hill to climb for W7m. Not impossible. We've seen some crazy comebacks. SSG just yesterday giving us probably the most spectacular, almost cool comeback that we ever could have seen.
7 rounds in a row. That was wild to get themselves onto the third map. It was
I love how Doki just said, be careful, KZ, okay? You're not playing some usual Brazilian team here. You are playing world champion. Yes, you are.
Just got to get that out there, just remind them.
I love it how, like, at map start, Herds was like, hello, are you there? And no one from G2 said a word. Now they're up pretty well.
Now the voices are out.
Now the Scotsman's starting to pipe up and give it large back.
I'm sure he is after the last couple of rounds.
This slaughter, this is what I was worried about on the box drop that I spoke about. You drop in, one person's got to hold down, or in this case, mash left mouse button, and you're pretty much toast. 3 kills did come back in for W7m, but G2 could convert the 2 versus 2. W7 meh. I've seen W7 mid, W7 meh. Anything else you want to throw in there, guys? We're all open for it.
5-2 it will be then as we head into round 8. G2 certainly finding their feet on Oregon better than they did on console. Alamo, we've seen him on the Amaru a few times. Needs to be careful here though, because JV92 is in and around Big Tower. Knows that there's been a little bit of attention out there, but there you go. Alamo sees him on his drone. This could be a real opportunity for G2 if there's a little bit of a support for Alamo out at the back there. They could get that pinch.
All eyes obviously turn towards the Amaru here as well from Alamo. What crazy players he got in mind. I think we all know what exactly that play is going to be. It's going to be springing inside of the kid's window. It's more waiting for the setup to come through from the rest of his team to draw enough attention that he can make that play. Right now, though, there is no one sat inside a pit, no one inside of sight. The only man who can possibly challenge him is Nade, who's hanging around game. So an opportunity there exists for G2. They just don't want to take it yet until there's more pressure.
No, this is it, because it's quite, it's quite a compact site. You can rotate back through to that area quite easily. Alamo nearly giving himself away there. He knows that JV92 is playing around rear stage and he doesn't want to let him stay there. Casey is going to pick up Benja, so that's a good start for W7m. Gets himself back into sight via Attic Catch as well. Really nice Oryx play.
Really thought we might see there a spring in from G2 as they knew one was off site up north trying to challenge Alamo. He could have sprinted towards Kid's window and made that a very quick fight, but W7m are playing a little bit of G2 strat here, holding pretty firm on and around site itself. With the classic LATAM extending towards Armory, you've got KZ playing out on that side of the map in case anyone does try and walk up Armory or push in through Armory window, but no one is doing that right now, so G2 have to make this work with just 3.
Yeah, they're just going to have to force their way in at this point. Really no space being given by W7m. Herds manages to find Virtue, and just everywhere that G2 have probed, W7m have been there waiting. This could be a flawless round. It's all up to Alamau. He's on the Amaru just outside of game's window, and guess what? They know exactly where he is. Esports is going looking. You just know that he's desperate for it.
Send a message, get out the window. That's what I want to see. And it's Nade to find his man. A flawless round coming out for W7m. Not the dream second round on the attacking side for G2, but I love how we've seen W7m change their style here. Rather than trying to play out around the map like we saw in the previous one, here we're seeing them try and play a lot more defensive, but they've just found the answer in that round. Digging deep for Leapox especially, watching White. 2 kills in exactly the same position, and no response from G2.
For G2 at this point, at least, you know, when compared to Consulate, it feels like they're in this one. We've got much more of a game. W7m still very dangerous, but G2 maintaining a good lead, and you look at it and you think, can they get 2 more attacks? And I think this G2 side can. I think they've got it in them, Des. But W7m, they're going to be a tough nut to crack. They're going to go back down to Laundry. A good win last time around for G2. It did all sort of come down to that dice roll that we had in the last 30 seconds where they dropped into electrical, and it was kind of just everybody wailing on everybody else. It was like a dark room, and they were just throwing punches and seeing where they landed.
The crazy thing, if we get to overtime on this map, and I don't think it's, it's not out of reason that G2 win another attack here and guarantee at least overtime, and it wouldn't also surprise me if W7m claw it back to 6-6. The one to note going into OT, obviously G2 are going to be on the attacking side. It was W7m's map pick. They choose what side they go on to. And given how defense has been faring, at least at the first half and these first couple of rounds, I'll be nervous if it gets there. G2 need this done in regulation.
They're going to be attacking once again on to Laundry then. Benja straight up towards the garage, onto the drone, just making sure that his entrance is clear, checking attic, armory stairs, and making sure he's not going to be getting caught out by any roamers on that top floor. This is something that G2 have done well so far. Just check, have a good understanding. Ooh, there is a player up on the top floor. I'm not sure that Herds has been picked up here.
Not
I was
yet.
just going to say, G2 have done a good job of using that drone information and making sure the map's clear and taking it quickly, but we need to keep an eye on Herds.
I don't want to dogpile him on either, but Benja was an absolute freak of nature at 6 Invitational. Deleted every team he came against. Here he's been very quiet, even across the tournament. Not really been their star player and stand out. You've seen Doki taking top of the leaderboard at points. Uno stepped up there as well. Virtue's had some big games. Alamau, second highest rated player in the whole competition. Benja just a little bit absent so far in this competition. If you're going to make yourself known, I think in round 9 of Oregon in a best of 3 in the semis is probably the place to do it, Tim.
Herds is now on the move, and I don't think that they're aware that he's going to be on the flank here. He's going to be down White Stairs, and this could be a real problem for G2 if they are unaware. If he gets onto their flank here, they're still working around that mid floor. They're in meeting at the moment, trying to open hatches up, and Herds, he's just biding his time, Des. He knows that the opportunity is there for him.
You're going to go green here, I imagine, try a bit of a backstab, and could very well get away with it unless G2 have got some great flank drones set up. We've got the beauty of a top-down view, and we can't see any drones anywhere. G2, the backstab has been executed, and Herds may have just deleted this attack already for G2.
And with a Nomad on the board, you've got to ask questions there. Obviously, there is a lot to cover off here on Oregon. Multiple staircases where those air jabs are going to be used to prevent anybody moving up from the basement. But if you know somebody's on the top floor and you're trying to play without dealing with them, then they maybe have to position in different places, and the air jab's just not effective on the Roma whatsoever there. Herds just absolutely free double kill for him, and that probably breaks the back of this G2 attack.
All air jabs are in back pocket. That is not ideal. In fact, all gadgetry is still in back pocket for G2 outside of the tin openers and 1 frag grenade. This is not really what you want coming into the last 30 seconds. G2 are going to lose this round with everything still in back pocket and able to be used. Uno might find 1, finds a second as well, but has got to go through 3 more. W7m are not going to let that happen, but Tim, again, we've got to stress, you cannot be getting to the last 30 and starting an execute with 3 players all having utility still in back pocket.
I felt that G2 had done well so far on Oregon at, on the attack, getting in there, getting map control, dealing with any roamers, pushing them back to site. But now I'm sort of left wondering, I feel like I need to look back at a couple of those rounds and think, have they done that? Or have they just taken a gamble?
Have they been
just taking a risk and getting away with it? And this time W7m have punished them.
And compare that to the other side, when it was W7m on the attack, they were ruthless.
Absolutely.
At clearing
every
out
corner.
Doki and Benja. They were just deleted every round. They're either on site and they kept their lives, or they were off site and they died. They were traded. it's just showing that discipline here that I think is missing a little bit in the G2 gameplay. And W7m really making a claim to say, look, everyone's fancying FaZe to go and win this. We think we can do it.
But yeah, dying a double kill on a flank with 3 air jabs in pocket is just...
I think we all feel that one, brother.
It's unforgivable. So we head into round 10. 5-4 as G2 continue to be reined back in by W7m. They really want that spot in the grand final. They don't want to be seeing anything of Cafe, and they're trying to get it done here and now. This is a pivotal round for me. I said round 7 was important. G2 got it won. They've since had 2 wins go in the direction of W7m. 1, they need to break the momentum of W7m. Don't let them stack 3 rounds together. But also, this is that third choice site. This is the one that G2 should be able to win, and it guarantees them the overtime as a minimum. So this one they have to come in. If W7m get the win here and they can cycle back through their own primary sites, then I think as a G2 fan, you start to be a little bit concerned about that.
I just want to see Benja drop a nuke this round. I know I spoke about it a bit in the last, but he's got to see him go big. We've got to see him do some work. Now, understandably with the Ram on side, you want to see G2 get top floor control. They want to open everything up. They've got to deal with Herds, who's floating around on top floor, and Nade, who's playing in below with the ability to C4 things out, and they haven't droned again. The homework is not being done by G2. Doki offline, hard breach removed. That's going to stink.
Same problem. And it's Herds once again that capitalises on it, this time bringing the cap can. And again, if W7m have got the feeling that, hey, they're not droning effectively here, bring the cap can, because that's when you're going to catch them out. 5 versus 3 now as Felipox picks up Uno, and W7m are really starting to dominate over the last couple of rounds. G2 Des, they're in big trouble.
It's a really good read from Felipox there, I think, as well, to get into a good spot just to find Uno out. As he on the Ossa as well was really the one you're looking for to execute. Hard breach onto meeting wall, Ossa to execute with the shield. They can't do that. G2 are just going to have to go for frags in this round, and given how the gunfights have been going so far, I'm just not too convinced it's going to be the round for them.
It's certainly not looking that way at the minute. Herds, he's still up there. The thing is, W7m can play with more of a freedom now. They can leave people up on the top floor when otherwise they might dip themselves away. Herds, he just absolutely slams Benja as he peeks around the pit door and finds his man.
Honestly,
Herds is unstoppable right now, and Alamo just his latest in a long line of victims. W7m on their feet and starting to feel confident.
Second flawless round in 3 rounds as well. Herds is definitely getting an all chat again, by the way. He is so in their heads right now. Benja, it looked like he had the perfect angle held, but all it takes is one bullet coming out of Herds. He just deletes them all the way through. And I said this back on the last map. Sure, you might find G2 get one small part of a round going their way, but the rest of it is just so well drilled by W7m that they are leaving no gaps for G2 to step into. 14-6, Herds sits out as G2 step into attack timeout.
Absolutely no surprise to see the coach calling the attack timeout here and deciding that some input is going to be needed. Leveled out at 5-5, and as I said, we've got to look a little bit deeper than that for W7m here. They've now got their 2 primary sites unlocked and ready to go to, having won that third choice site. So the next one that we will see will almost certainly be Domes. I don't think they take the other third choice. They're not going to touch dining, I wouldn't have thought. They'll go back up to that top floor. They locked it down comfortably last time. If they can do it again, it puts them not only on map point, but on series point, on the point that will take them through to the grand final. W7m just 2 away right now.
If you want to know how dominant those last 3 rounds have been, I mentioned there's a couple of flawless rounds in there. The other one, still 3 players left standing from W7m. Let's stop throwing. I don't know if it's really throwing as much as W7m are just controlling the game, but 2 kills G2 have got in the last 3 rounds. It's miserable.
As I say, I think,
honestly,
there are improvements that can be found there for the G2 information game in particular. Losing that flank to Herds, going into a cap can trap, it just speaks of going in there without all the information that you need, without all of the knowledge that you need, and being punished for it. So G2 certainly need. That's something I'm going to focus on through this round, is how many of those drones are alive? How are they being utilised? Are they going in there knowing what is in front of them?
Well, a choke out coming in from W7m, muting the Solus on side, really to restrict that game. Because I imagine that's the call that they know G2 would have got during that timeout is, look, you're being shot in the back, you're being backstabbed, You've got to get on those drones and figure out what's going on a little bit earlier on. So the Solus and the Mute, perfect answer from W7m. Again, the door opens for G2 and it gets slammed shut. The same as Uno, almost completely gets taken out here. Herd's taking a fight at range. He doesn't lose those. Alamau is in his back pocket.
Herd's absolutely flying at the minute, unstoppable. G2 have no answer to him. Looking at his numbers nowadays, 15 and 6. He is single-handedly taking the European side apart.
Absolutely terrifying, isn't it? Uno's got to be so careful here as well. He's got the juice from Doki if needs it. They don't want to use it just yet. But he nearly lost his life previously. Now he's trying to work his way up in towards Master Bedroom. Has got some pressure coming in out towards the east side. Benja working his way in. But Benja's got to go big here. He's got to unseat Herds, who is unseatable. And that's to deal with Big Tower at the same time. W7m have just got layers upon layers here, Tim. Oh, no. Oh, no, oh, no, oh, no.
Unaware of Philippox, surely, who's just going to peek around the corner, gets one. Can he get a second? Yes! Flips himself 180, turns on the turn and burn, and finds his man, and it's falling apart for G2 right now. 4 versus 2.
Yet again, it comes down to that drone play and someone not being sniffed out. Herds finds yet another multi-kill in this game. W7m really making that claim for the finals. Benja's got it all to do. Bottom white, he's not going to win it. Herds gets a 4K, Tim.
Herds just... He's taken what Alamau said in the interview personally, I think, Des.
Oh, you're telling me?
He's come out here to respond directly.
He drops the easy in all chat as well.
He's come out here to respond directly to it, and I feel like Alamau might be regretting those words before this match started. 3 kills in 4 rounds for G2, and now they have to go down to the basement. They did win this site at the start of the half, but they got pretty rocked here in round 9. It's the only place they found any kills, really, across this map. What can they do here to break them open? And most importantly, Tim, can they deal with the roamers? Last time round, they got utterly deleted by Herds coming off on that flank. They've got to work some magic here, or it is done and dusted, and it is that all LATAM Grand Final that I'm sure Brazilian fans are dying to see. Let's not forget as well, W7m now 4 rounds in a row, just proving to be an immovable object for G2. And like you say, they've now got that primary site choice back online.
I think it's hard to see how even FaZe beat W7m playing like this.
I said this, you know, so many people have been favouring FaZe, and don't get me wrong, FaZe have looked fantastic, but for me, W7m, the danger of W7m has been the upward trend that they've been on. They've been moving quicker and quicker. They've been playing better and better on each map that we've seen them, and that has been a big factor for them today.
Real short timeout coming in here. I think it's one of our observers dropped out, so we'll get them back in game, and things will be underway relatively quickly. If nothing else, a tech timeout here probably only, but I say, it benefits G2. The problem here being you're alone with your own thoughts.
Though. Yeah.
Yeah, just like, wow, we're 1 round away. We've been rocked for the last 4 in a row. This feels tragic.
It's got to be very difficult from a G2 perspective as a player. Surely you've got to sit there and tell yourself, I'm the best player in the world. I'm going to come out and win this next round, because it's essential that you do. You've got no choice. But it, you know, at the same time, must be so difficult to do that. And you know what? I think you might be right. I think it might just be impossible to stop Herds.
Well, he got a 4K in that last round, so that puts him up to, what, was he on 13 or 15 before that round?
He was on 15 when I don't know if it was during the round, but I've certainly seen him hit 15.
We can get it checked, and we'll come back to you guys on that one, because he could be about to absolutely slam G2 going into this next round yet again.
Yeah, I think he'll be on about 17 at the minute. But W7m, they just need to make sure now that they keep the foot on the gas. They've got plenty of experience, let's be honest. They've been to the last 2 Grand Finals. They were in the SI Grand Finals. They were in Copenhagen Grand Finals. They're not going to be scared of a semi-final here in Atlanta. They're not going to be, you know, worried about getting this over the line. They're going to go and get it done.
It's like we said, it's conditioning, right?
It is.
You're used to being the bad guy, is the best way to summarize it.
Oh, that won't concern them in the slightest.
Absolutely not. I mean, it's certainly not concerning Herds. His sole focus, that laser glare from across the room, firmly fixed on Alamau, and so far he is winning that Battle of Wills.
A laser glare?
A laser glare.
We could add that into the repertoire.
No, we don't need to add that in. Because you don't say glare the same way you say gates.
We haven't had a lot of Aruni this tournament.
No. Since she got nerfed down, you're not really seeing too much of her anymore. Every now and then you do. I've seen her coming alongside Jaeger and Omai for even more anti-utility setup, but it's definitely very niche, I think, in terms of pick rate.
Certainly much more so. I think we're close to getting things back underway here. What could be the final round for G2 here in Atlanta? That is what is at stake. They've already lost the first map. This is the second map of Oregon.
That's a real coach.
There you go.
Massage.
The shoulder rub.
During the tech timeout.
The shoulder rub.
But don't worry, Tim is communicating messages through massage there.
Keep loose.
Here we see G2 on side. Obviously, again, all in silence for now, but I can't imagine too much would be being said if this were still a talking opportunity for them. I really hate harping on him as well, and it's not so much I'm trying to pick on him here and saying, look, you're better. Well, he is better than this, but Benja's just not had a way into this game. You know, shots where normally, think about during groups, for example, where he's marched through 3 or 4 players and around and been like, mate, this is literally easy. We're not seeing him show up against W7m.
So remember something that I said at the beginning of the tournament, and I often do, and that is that teams will always have a bad day through a tournament at some point. It always happens. They'll always have a little bit of a dip at some point. And I said half of winning a championship, half of winning these big titles is about, I don't know if it's a little bit of luck or management to have that bad day at the right time. W7m, they had a bad day on the first match days. They lost their first match here in Atlanta. And from there, it's only been up. G2, they've won everything up to this point. And it just looks like they may be having that bad day at the wrong time.
Last call for G2 to rally round and get this round done and send this into overtime.
And I'm sure that noise will filter its way through to the players.
Oh, they say this all the time. Like, yeah, they're wearing noise-cancelling headphones, but you have microphones. They still pick up noise that loud.
Yeah. They're going to know that they've got a lot of support behind them, not just here in Atlanta, but at home as well. Yep. I'm sure G2 are going to give it absolutely everything as they come into
Hertz, by the way,
12.
18-6 before our rehost.
There we go.
18-6.
So 2 more kills from Hertz will see him have a 20-kill map here on Oregon.
What many people would refer to as a life game, but for Hertz, it doesn't feel like a life game.
Just a day. just a daily game.
Just a day in the office. A day playing Siege for him. It scares me how accurate it is with the flicks. You've seen it on so many replays as well. He's not even looking at a player as they round a corner. It's not like it's a free press left mouse button, there's a kill. Just the speed, his reaction, and the ability to land a headshot from a flick is absolutely mortifying. Here we go, though. This could be the last round of this first semi-final. W7m with a chance to secure that spot in the grand final with a real claim to winning 2 majors in a row. It's been 4 years since a team last had that achievement. It was Empire all that time ago, but at least since our new scheme of Siege came out in 2020, no one has yet achieved that feat. So for W7m, it's not just a big claim going into tomorrow, Tim, but also looking forward to SI in Sao Paulo.
5 seconds to go.
We head into the action phase then of what could be the last round in Atlanta
boy,
for
Hail
G2.
Mary.
Or it could see us having a little bit more excitement to come. We've got Alamo on the blitz.
Man.
We've seen it so many times brought along when teams have just really needed that round, needed to secure another point on the board. G2, they're going to try to clear these roamers from rear stage stairs to begin with, meeting immediate response there from W7m.
The respect being shown, though, they don't want to get caught in a 1v1, so they back away down towards site. A few bullets to keep them at bay, and then straight down immediately. Now, again, keep an eye on the drone game in this round, because that has been a real stinging point for G2 across the series. There's been a lack of drones, getting shot in the back, and really being stung out. The only real one to worry about in this round, because everyone is playing on site, is KZ hanging around towards Freezer. If they don't drone through Freezer and a player wants to push it, he may well catch them by surprise. They're checking everything, though, just in case.
The thing is, I'm glad to see it from G2. They've learnt their lesson, and they're not going to go in and give them an opportunity to hit them on the flank quite so easily. It doesn't matter on this site, realistically, if you take that extra 30 seconds. Far too late from JV92. So, good progress from G2. Confident that the map is clear. They can have the space that they need to work towards site, and they're already opening hatches. This is about as good as it can go for them so far.
It can, but W7m are playing this really well, too. They've got so much to sit behind. You've got the Fenrir, you've got the C4s, you've got impacts potentially that then come out of Herds as well. You've got the Goyo canisters deployed around site. They have hunkered down here, and you're already losing gunfights. This is only going to get even worse for G2.
Utility just raining in through electrical hatch for the time being. The Vulcan canister will have to be left to burn away before they can think about any sort of opportunity to drop. And Alamo is on the relocate now. He's going to be heading himself in to try and clear out elbow, which is so often what we see that blitz used for, but it has to come at the right time. G2, they need to prepare here. They need to make sure that they're in sync when they do go in.
see Benjamin being nervous that they might again get flanked out here, but it's not going to be the case. Goyo canister, barbed wire, barricade, all taken down, but Alamau has got to make a push happen inside of Elbow. It's him versus Nade on the Fenrir. That is going to be the big fight to determine this round.
Alamau is ready to go here. The utility starts to rain in, and the drop will begin. But it's for Epox. He finds the first, KZ the second. They started at a steady pace here in Atlanta, but it has only picked up as they have gone. And like the Bulls, that is their mascot, W7m have charged their way into the grand final at the Atlanta Major.
For a few seconds, it looked like G2 might be bouncing back after a strong first half. But W7m, you cannot deny just how terrifying this team is to watch. Barely a gap left in their lineups. And G2 have got some work to do before we come to SI. But it looks like that LATAM Grand Final, it's a lock, Tim.
Looking on the other side of this matchup, you look at Los and FaZe and you think, are either of them going to want to play this W7m?
I don't.
And the answer has to be surely not, because they just look more and more dangerous as the tournament goes on. Look at the confidence of them coming out, just feeding off that energy from the crowd.
You're saying, come on, boo me some more. Rough game. I mean, for Doki, maybe it's all smiles. But you know, there's a little bit of joy there in being able to say GG to Alamau. Brought down the Brazilian who fled from the region to join G2. Won SI earlier this year. W7m showed that they could still get back on top and win things in Copenhagen. I imagine this is a rivalry that will be fueled for many moons to come.
You just get that feeling, don't you, that it's really starting to build now, and that these two teams are just going to find their way back together at future tournaments to play each other again, and we're going to start building that real story. And I love those when they do build, because they really do add the spice. G2, you know, hats off to them. They've played their part here. You've got to give it. They come in there with the confidence, with the smack token. We need those characters, and that's what really adds the flavour to these matches. So G2, you give it your best, but it just wasn't enough today.
I just really hope there's a rematch between these teams at every tournament going forward. SI and Sao Paulo between these two? Oh, imagine! The crowd's going to be behind one of them, and it won't be the one that they were behind today, needless to say. Again, we'll see no doubt G2 bounce back on this one as well. It wasn't their strongest overall, but we will no doubt see more from them moving forwards. W7m still get to play tomorrow, but for now, they're also down on the stage with Ian, so let's throw over there now.
Desines, thank you very much. This is starting to feel like deja vu standing beside Felipox in front of a trophy, within touching distance. And look, you've just sent home the last non-Brazilian team in this major, and you did it in such confident fashion.
Yeah, like I said in the pre-game interview, we were going to kill them, and we killed them. 2-0, very easy, and that's it.
You thought it was easy?
Yeah, it was kind of easy. This last map, not so much, I won't lie. But the Consulate, I think they didn't know how we played, because we haven't played before, so we kind of surprised them. And then on Oregon, our pick, in the defense, we crushed them.
It felt like Heads was just really in his bag, on fire. It felt like he was in their heads a little bit.
Yeah, Hertz was carrying us in the Oregon, in the defense. He was doing everything he wanted. So, yeah.
There's been a lot of talk about FaZe Clan being the favourites in this tournament, but it feels like every map that goes by, you guys are just growing into this tournament and getting more and more comfortable every single round.
Yeah, FaZe Clan is a team that's very difficult for us. We never won against them. So if they go to the finals, if they win today, hopefully we'll finally win against them.
Now, of course, you weren't part of the roster that suffered that heartbreaking defeat at SI earlier this year. You did help get revenge, though, and it looked like revenge tasted pretty sweet for the rest of your teammates.
Yeah, I said I would get revenge for my friends. We would get revenge together, and we did.
Just finally, Felipox, to your fans watching back home in Portuguese, what would you like to say to them?
Obrigado aí a minha família que está assistindo sempre, meus amigos. Queria dedicar essa vitória de hoje à minha irmã aí, que se formou ontem, e eu não pude estar na formatura por causa do campeonato. Então, parabéns para a Mariana que formou, minha irmã. E obrigado minha família, meus amigos, todo mundo está sempre torcendo, a torcida W7m, tamo junto.
Felipox, obrigado. Best of luck in the grand final. You will find out who your opponent will be a little bit later on in our second semi-final. But to talk through everything that just went down and the heartbreak for G2, it's over to the desk with Jacob.
Appreciate it, Ian. Not a lot we could really say that wasn't already said in the server. That's it. Bow to your new overlords. W7m are going to the grand finals of Atlanta and have just made history as the only team to qualify for the grand final of every big event in a Siege calendar over the course of 1 year. No other team in history has done what W7m just did. Big congratulations to them.
And they did it off the back of Hertz. I mean, Philippe said it. He did everything he wanted on that Oregon defense. He finished with an absolutely monstrous 20-6 record. He was so good on Oregon. Undoubtedly the MVP from this map.
Yeah, I think W7m's fundamentals, their trust in each other, just everything, their strategy, they get everything right. And no matter who they're up against, they just get better and better and better. Again, a little bit of a shaky attack half onto Oregon, but they cleaned it up on the defense. They played the crossfires, they played the team play, and G2 had absolutely no answer for it.
Certainly looked like G2 at least had some fighting chance in this matchup. They will be going home right before the grand final, and for more about how that went down, let's talk to Doki with Ian Chambers on stage.
Thank you very much, Jacob. Doki, that did not go as expected.
Yeah, it did. No. Well, we lost ourselves. We played really bad. W7m are such a strong team, so like I want some applause for them. Like they played so good. And tomorrow, I think they're gonna take it back-to-back major. But that's part of the plan because if they get back-to-back major, we get back-to-back SI. You see?
It's sad, isn't it? Because I think that once NA lost its last Open SSG yesterday, you sort of became the fan favorites here for this home crowd. I feel like you've let them down a little bit.
We have let you down, guys. Like we heard the support when we were playing so loud. The crowd was so good. So I want to say thank you. I hope we see some of you guys at SI. The crowd's been so fun. So I appreciate it from the bottom of my heart. The guys appreciate it. We're sad right now, but we're gonna come back from it, learn from it, and we'll be better at SI. I promise. So thank you so much.
Since Montreal, you guys suffered a bit of a dip in form, right? There was some concern about if you were going to get back to winning ways, and I think at this major, you've proven that you guys still can hang at the top level here. I mean, you did make it here through LCQ, but from that point onwards, it's been looking a little bit more like the G2 of old.
Yeah, I mean, I'm loving the team right now. I think everyone's loving playing in the team. Everyone's super confident. Everybody's playing at high level, so it's like, what else can you hope for? I mean, today, maybe another day it went a different way, but you can't take it away from W7m. They're a really strong team. And yeah, I just wish the best for them. I really like them, so yeah, that's all. But thank you again to everybody. I appreciate it.
Great guys, and this man is a wonderful human being as well. Last thing from you, Doki. Sao Paulo, February. Is it hammer time again?
It's hammer time, baby.
All right, you heard it from the man himself, Doki. Best of luck at SI. Remember, you owe me a drink tonight, all right? Yeah, I'm gonna hold him to that. Okay, back to you on the desk, Jacob.
Yeah, Doki said something in that interview about how it felt like they weren't really playing like themselves, how they were really losing their way, and I think Laxton's got a point about that specific thing on the breakdown. Lax, what do you got for us?
Yeah, I do. Doki said it best. They weren't playing their best, and this definitely wasn't the best performance that we had from them. I want to break down this round going into the basement hold on round 4. This is an important round here with Uno and Herds here. This is a very tight spot. You don't want to give up blue. You don't want to give up elbow. The problem is here on this circle, you will see there is a, well, you won't see this, but behind this wall, there's a shield and a mute, which is why you see that Flores drone not being utilized very well. They also have the Fenrir trap right there to help this 1v1 engagement for Uno, but the problem here is Uno gives up this position by the shield, whether the comms forced him out, whether just his own intuition forced him out of this position. You'll continue to see how this plays out, where you would rather see Uno go into elbow here and tuck with his team, but instead he tries to run back towards blue and gets caught from up top through the hatch. I believe it was Nade that, oh wait, Herds that grabs, no, not Herds. Someone grabs him, bottom line, someone grabs him, but Herds, we've talked about him a lot here. Herds played phenomenally through this, and Herds does the heads up play here of sneaking through elbow and ends up grabbing Alamau in the back, and I believe it was Virtue that tries to pull this off here. Alamau trying to do this gunfight as best of his ability, but Herds here coming in up on the flank, huge push here, ends up grabbing this kill on Virtue, and does an amazing pinch here with KZ, blinds Alamau, ends it here beautifully with this knife. And this is the reason why I want to break this down, because the biggest thing was that blue elbow hold. If Uno just tucked back, he would have been able to play with Alamau. He would have been able to play with Virtue. They would have been able to play those positions, those trades. But Uno giving that up letting Herds get in there, take that map control, and ultimately sealing the deal for the team is the reason why G2 lost that round. And seeing how this game ended in 7-5, that easily could have pushed it to overtime, easily could have won in G2's favor going forward. But ultimately, these are the small things that happen in Siege that can ultimately ruin a round for you. And that's why I want to break it down for you. I'm going to throw it back to the desk.
Thanks, Lags. Obviously, it felt like a 4-2 half and minimum for G2 was kind of what they needed to ensure that they got. You would have liked to have gotten more because everything fell apart in the second. Jack, they're your boys. How are you feeling right now?
Look, I'm glad Lax pulled that round up because Uno made a very, very, very nervous play inside of that round. And I'm just going to draw correlations here. So, Copenhagen, G2 exit to Liquid, a Brazilian team. Almo has a bad game. Again, G2 have exited to a Brazilian team, and Almo's had a bad game. And I start to wonder if his calling, his nerves, transpired through to the rest of the team. Because Uno made a really nervous play in that round. Alamo, in the next round on Laundry Supply, made a really nervous play. G2 should have won either of those rounds, should have been closing out a 5-1, 6-0 half. W7m were not attacking very well on Oregon. And in a 7-5 loss, that's completely the difference. And I think G2 actually have a big problem here. Because if we go to SI, if they come up against a Brazilian team on the stage, it's only going to get worse for them. So they need to get over whatever hurdle that is they have against going against good Brazilian teams.
Yeah, and that round was so crucial too, because it was the start of the comeback for W7m. They go down 3-0 on that first quarter, and we saw G2 doing really well in the early game. Sometimes it was still a little solo, but we saw them constantly fighting, constantly going for swings. W7m getting caught off guard by a lot of that aggression. I thought Virtue was playing really good on dorms below the bomb site, having big impact there. W7m, they couldn't shut him down. But once we saw that tack timeout come through, W7m slowed down their pushes quite a bit. They started being way more prepared for those little swings and just waiting for them and taking those advantages when they got them. And then, as you said, I mean, that swap to the second half, just undoable for G2.
Now, Herds, obviously, is going to get all the plaudits. 20-6. It's not often you see somebody put their team in the backpack like that on such a main stage in a semi-final of a major. However, what I do want to say is W7m's fundamentals, particularly on their defense, their attack wasn't the best, but their defense in particular, allowing Herds that free roam, but when he needed the support or when others needed the support, Herds was there. Herds picked up a couple of kills, just playing off the back of his teammates, creating those 2v1s, and it just happened to be Herds that got those kills. And I think that's really strong for them, especially on their defense. Yeah, they've got some things to work on, but you know, no team's going to want to take them to Oregon, even if it looks like W7m are weak on their attacks.
For W7m, it feels like they're getting really used to the spotlight. Remember back when there was the team that came so close to almost maybe winning an event, they're the favorites coming in, and then they get maybe to semifinals and they crash and burn. They've made it to the grand finals now of every single event in the year of our Lord 2023, and I think they're also getting used to being the villains, because as soon as they won, they put their ears out towards NA right as the whole crowd was exiting the building. So I think they're getting pretty used to that kind of pressure, and they're thriving in it.
W7m are one of the greatest teams in Rainbow Six history, maybe second to G2. Throughout the entirety of the history. That feels like where we're at right now. The way that W7m have been to major after major after major, they won finally when they went to Copenhagen. Now they look poised to be in a great spot to win again into those grand finals. They're looking so strong at the moment. You just can't say anything about the legacy of this team because it feels like we're right in the midst of them building it up, and they are going so hard.
They're slowly but surely earning the right to be in that conversation with the old Penta G2 roster, absolutely. And I think, like you say, no team's ever done it. Three major final or S-tier finals in a year. And I spoke, again, I'll reference when I spoke to Philippox after Copenhagen in the after party, and he said, this is just the start. We know we're back at the bottom of the mountain. Now we've won Copenhagen. It's all about Atlanta. And they're making it all about Atlanta. They're working harder than ever, and they're looking better than ever.
We also will find, for the very first time this tournament, our first ever two-time major champions. Because W7m, obviously, they won the most recent major in Copenhagen. FaZe Clan won back in Yavle. And Los, different roster, org changes, but they were
Are you claiming that?
won back in Mexico.
Oh, was you just that confident in FaZe?
No, I mean,
you're actually claiming it?
All three of them have won a major in the past. So no matter what happens throughout the end of this, we're going to see a not back-to-back, but a two-time major champion team.
Which technically, in Siege history, has never happened before.
Exactly.
So it's about time to figure out who is going to be on the right side of history and who will always be remembered as the team that came so close but couldn't capitalize in the end. Semifinal number 2, FaZe Clan and Los, is coming up. Don't go anywhere.